I have 10, Randy.
All right,
Thank
call
you.
the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
He's probably being picky, but down in here somewhere I noticed we spent $300 and some on windshield washer fluid, but that wasn't from a local purveyor.
Was it the highway department?
Yeah, and I would presume they were buying a great big lot of stuff somewhere and they just had it stuck in there, but that seems to be a lot of money.
You don't remember the vendor?
No, but I'll find it again. I was just curious. You know, it's not a big deal.
At that price, it almost seems like it's a pallet of it.
Yeah, it was probably a bulk
And
purchase.
it could well have been. And I don't challenge it, I just bring it up. We do a lot of hose work at Ginger Hydraulic, and a lot of that can be done at Sturts. And actually Jared does a lot of that now too. It only costs you guys $25 for a notary fee?
That's with the Secretary of State's office, and then you still have the bonds you have to pay. And then if you have a new person, you have to buy a stamp too.
I think they've been charging me $100 for all that stuff.
That's probably the bond, because I think that's what the bond is.
Maybe so.
That's the insurance in case you sign something you weren't supposed to. So there's a Secretary of State's office fee is $25, and then there's a thing for insurance forms. For a couple of us, maybe 3 of us. And I am gonna have Sarah get notarized too, or be a notary.
They paid $300 for an impact driver assembly. And I don't know the last time I ever wore one of those out. You ever wear one out?
Well, they probably use them a lot. No, I haven't, you're right.
I move to approve payroll.
I'll second.
It's $206,049.48.
Then I second. Motion's been made second to approve the, payroll for, February of 2020. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. None opposed. Now, what to do?
Under S&W Supply. And I don't know what it is, but it said washer fluid, fluids highway, $368.90. And it may be something other than, well, there's no
Yeah.
telling what it is. But I just thought it was odd.
Every once in a while, if it's a invoice that has a lot on it, we just pick
The major quantity
Yeah.
or price.
Yeah, they
whatever's
have-
the
There's
biggest.
a $3,000 bill from S&W.
Okay. There's a short page under that. Should bring my liquors.
We must have had a big ambulance billing, huh? Delisa's check is pretty big.
Instead of how much was it?
Three, put back here.
I got 316.18, but it doesn't have washer fluid on it.
S and W, I gotta find S and W again. There it is, S and W supply, 368.90. It's, that 316.83 says brake cleaner, fluid, highway. That may be filtered, it's hard to tell what those things are.
That one, the 316.83 one has a starter, volt filter, air filter, diesel filter,
Yeah.
lube filters, WMA part.
Yeah, and
That
on
has
down
a-
about 4 or 5 items.
There's a 697.30.
Yeah, that's the one, and the next one after that is the washer fluid or whatever it is.
Okay, 368.90, it says there's 2 side view mirrors, an IMP socket, crystal clear. There was I guess a 55-gallon drum of crystal clear, but it was actually only 143.16.
So that's a whole bunch of stuff in there.
Diesel exhaust fluid, and that was it. Yeah.
I'm just curious.
I'm assuming crystal clear is windshield wiper fluid, but
Do you know, or would you please look up what Foley's bill was for, what does faulty codes mean? I mean, I know Hannah probably wrote that in, but it's Foley tractor for $577 and it just says custom repair for faulty codes. I'm wondering,
They probably had a code, an error code like on it, and the computer causes it, they had to probably take it in and get it reset.
doesn't that seem crazy? $577?
Yeah, I don't, well,
for-
they may have done more, but that's
Yeah.
probably what a code is, you know, when,
Yeah,
yeah, you know, it comes up on the system. And you'll see, just like you see a light come on your car or some code, right? Check
Yeah.
engine soon.
yeah.
Well, they got some similar probably, and then they get it reset, but yeah, that's, I don't know all the story, but
Well, and
I'll
then
bet it's
down,
something to do
if you
with
go
that.
down one, then there was $2,200 for renting something from GPS Insight, which I would like to know what that is too.
the operator called next day, had code come back, machine went into burn and completed code went away, and has not had another issue, and it's been over a week.
But what does it say? Is the $577 just labor for them to come out and look at it?
Yep, probably
Service charge.
it says labor, but my guess could possibly be an E1010621 or customer states troubleshoot fault code. And there's 2 different charges, a $428.50 and a $148.67 for a total of $577.17.
But that is just a fault. How is that not under like a warranty or something? If it wasn't even like they had to actually fix anything. That's irritating. And then under GPS Insight, there's a $2,200 bill for a device rental. I kind of want to know what that is.
That's their GPS units, and that's, I think, their annual cost.
Okay,
So
okay,
that's
that makes
for all
sense.
of the machines.
That makes sense.
Got
it.
And it does say device monitoring, and then device rental.
Got it. Thank you. What's your election fee to the Kansas Secretary of State for $2,000?
That's our access to the Elvis system. So when it went to a statewide Elvis system, basically we pay for security and maintenance on that. We all cost share in it.
For our electronic system?
for our voter registration system.
Oh, registration, okay.
One of those lovely mandated, unfunded.
Mm-hmm.
First couple of years was funded by, federal money.
Just enough bait.
Yeah.
So the bus paying the clerk's office for employee benefits, is that just you withdrawing their funds?
So their funds can be, they have that state grant that helps pay for them. Health insurance or their employee benefits is part of that. So we have to bill them so that he has something to,
And then
and
what
then
do you do with it?
we charge it out of that Fund 75. And then that's.
But I mean, do you deposit it so that it's part of the rest of the employee benefits fund? Okay. So it's just basically a transfer, but it goes through your office as a billing.
Yes,
Okay.
because he has to have something to prove that the charges were there to be able to get reimbursed for.
Okay.
I move we approve the accounts payable dated 26th February in the amount of $404,507.15, which includes Blue Cross Blue Shield and Delta Dental.
Well, you done looking at Alexis, I'm still looking.
I'm getting
I'm
to
still
the end.
looking. I respect your motion, Jim, I'm just,
No, that's all right.
I'm just, yeah, I think we'll get a second approval.
Yeah,
Hang on a
I
second.
read it already
Okay,
when she sent it out earlier.
I'll second so we can have discussion if
Yeah,
we need,
okay.
if we have any more questions.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the, accounts payable,
Note, including that stuff on the
Yeah.
bottom there.
including additional Blue Cross Blue Shield, Delta.
Who are we paying, Dawn, out of the general fund, who are we paying North Central Kansas for internet? For?
NCKC,
Yeah.
it's our backup internet,
Oh.
so.
You have a backup in there, so if your primary goes down, you have that one, and we have to pay them just to be a backup, so. What's that?
You would be surprised at how many times we use them.
Oh, I'm not doubting, I just didn't even know we did that. That's okay.
Kind of the redundancy.
How much is that?
It's just fifty, yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Oh, that's-
noticed it.
Yeah, I never
Thinking,
even
who
knew we had
owns
NCKC.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'll second the motion Jim made.
I did second.
Oh, you did second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Alexis. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the, February 2020 accounts payable for the amount of $400,507.15. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mhm.
And opposed. And they're signing that one too, but I guess
So
we got it.
basically, when our internet goes down, the firewall automatically transfers to, and it stays on it for till midnight, and then it goes back to the other.
I guess we gonna approve some, appointments, huh? And I understand you guys already did. Well, Alexis, then you could have been a little respectful to me and let me vote. You could have still voted in before you did, but let me have the respect to be here to vote, you know? You know that I wanted Broberg and Ansel and, no, and I know, I told you why.
You need to sign it.
Yeah, I'll sign both of those, please. But I know you guys voted it out, that's okay, but you should have waited for me here. We're gonna vote on these other guys today.
I apologize, Randy. I know that we have our
Yeah,
difference of opinion on what was gonna happen.
but you guys could have still voted as you did.
Yes, we could
We
have.
should have discussed it though, and I would have stated that was for Mr. Broberg, not because I like him so much and I know it, it's just that he has experience and I know we've been through this, that, you know, they didn't follow up very well, and I agree with you with Mr. Granzow. So because of that, I understand that, but I just think in the position we're in, they have a lot of experience right now to help the new CEO. That's my whole point. And we get to bring in 4 new people here that know nothing about what's going on up there. They may know something, but they don't know the details. Now, Rick, I mean, David does, okay, he may be, but, and I'm not against those 4, they're probably good people. That's fine with me, really. It's just, I just hope we're gonna be okay with it, with the situation we're in financially. We got a new CEO, and she's wanting to have, people give her positions of what to do, how to run that new hospital. That's, you know, you got 4 new people coming in there now. That's all my point, okay?
I know, and in hindsight, it was a little disrespectful. I'm
Well,
sorry.
Well, it's over now, it's just, we're gonna point for these others today too, we could've did them, but that's all I gotta say, it's not the end of the world.
Well,
And I think they'll
it's
be
something
okay.
I've been a little eager and
Well, I
anxious about.
think they'll be good, because I know David will be good, David goes to the meetings, he's very good, and I think, the other 3 will be also. But anyway, that's over. So you appointed what, Mr. Ladd? You didn't reappoint Laura Ladd, huh?
She actually gave, and that's kind of probably what prompted our conversation on it. As correspondence, she gave us an official resignation. So last time the board asked to remove her, and then we reinstated her, but her term is up today. And she gave an official resignation and kind of explained that the board had changed the meeting times, and that was inconvenient for her, and they had already discussed that because I was at the meeting where she requested it to be later. Then they went ahead and moved it even earlier. And in addition to that, I guess my biggest problem is the current board members that were seeking reappointment. They were part of an attempt to go into executive session yet again over hospital finances,
I know,
which
they
you
shouldn't.
can't do. And so I feel like that just happened, 2 weeks ago? I don't know. I mean, and I
Well,
get it. I mean,
and I respect your point there. I'm not, saying that,
I know.
I'm not saying they were perfect by no means, and I know what we went through. The only reason I think Mr. Grover was really helping our new CEO with what was going on, he helped get her here.
mhm.
And he's sharp on that stuff, but, that's what you guys voted, that's okay, I mean, it's over. And I hope that our new 4 will be okay. We're in a position though where this new CEO wants guidance, what to do. And, you know, we're month to month here paying the bills there. So, that's my only point.
Well,
I
the
know
way
that-
I-
I have nothing against these new 4 people.
The
They'll probably
way
be
I
fine.
kind of see it is, this Mrs. Gochi, I believe her expertise is in the field of doing turnarounds. And she came into a contentious, tumultuous situation. Her job is to turn it around. Yes, she needs input. She needs input from people who are willing to say,
All
this is
of
what
them.
happened and that what happened.
Yeah.
Like, to get her caught up to speed on the process of how we got where we are. Her vision of where we should be is gonna be better than anybody that's on the board.
Right.
Because she has the expertise. But yes, you're
But-
right,
but
she needs people to explain
Well,
to
she
her.
had questions like when I talked to her, did you get to talk to her this week?
Not yet,
Oh,
because she
okay.
was,
She's been gone, yeah.
yeah, I had 2 appointments with her
I know.
already that got canceled,
Well,
so.
when I talked to her, one issue is their healthcare, and I told you about that,
Mhm.
that was,
Finding a-
that needs
yeah.
to be, that's way too expensive.
Mhm.
And that needs to hopefully be fixed, but then she would wanna know what do we wanna do, you know, because that's a big change, and I even told her to talk to Rhonda, not that we're gonna promote Rhonda's.
Well, it's
Well, I
it's
just
someone
wanted
to
her-
look at for programming, yeah. I
Somebody
get
to
it,
look
yeah.
at what's out there, and that's because we just got picked.
Yeah,
And anyway, so I was gonna give her, you know, but that's one thing, what she would want guidance, who do we want for a health insurance? That's, cause that's a big deal. And she don't wanna make that decision by herself, that's all.
and Dawn, they're probably not they're not eligible for a state plan because they're not technically a governmental entity, even though they're an extension of us. They operate under a nonprofit, correct?
They are a governmental entity.
Who's that?
So I wonder if they're eligible for the state plan. The employees of the hospital are technically an extension, they're a quasi-governmental
Yeah.
function.
They're not connected to us, though, here, county.
Well, they are though. I mean,
Well, we give them, we appoint the board, we have oversight, but they operate away from us, so we don't overview their finance. We go there like I do once a month, but we have no really control, the board does, right?
no, I agree. The board is supposed to have autonomy, but I'm
We have
saying,
oversight. obviously.
But you know, like the school is eligible to be in the state insurance plan because they are quote unquote state employees,
Mhm.
technically.
I know what you're
I-
saying, but they
yeah.
got a different setup than we do. They could maybe come under the wing in the county with us, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if
I don't think we wanna,
would do that.
yeah, I'm just saying,
I
I don't
agree,
know,
I
I don't know
agree.
what their, I have no idea what their options are for health insurance,
I
is
don't
what I'm
know.
saying.
Well, that's where this, our new CO would know that,
Mhm.
what their, you know, the legality and how they officially operate. I agree, I don't know that either. But anyway, that's one issue, and she's gonna want input on us. This health insurance through the Great Plains Alliance thing, I think.
Mhm.
And then she said, they pay like the deductibles, I think the hospital does for the employees.
So it's like 100% coverage
So,
for employees?
yeah, it was like 30 grand, she said, last year. Well, I talked to her, I don't want to be misquoted here, but I thought she threw that number out at me.
Yeah.
But anyway, that if they could reduce that and still have health insurance for the employees, but probably do it cheaper, kinda like we did here.
Mhm.
Well, that's one thing she wants guidance on, stuff like that, that's
Mhm.
where the board, and you know, our new board would be fine, I'm not putting, I think all these are good people, so. Anyway, do we wanna look at the new, appointees that are requesting for the
Mhm.
other positions?
Sure.
Okay. Well, let me go through the top, just start reading it? Or how do you wanna do it?
Well, we did her,
Did you approve her?
uh-huh,
Oh, okay.
because she's the only one that applied.
That's fine.
She's a- I
Terry
think
Jo, so we, just for,
I think we may have done all of these, or
Just for
did you find
public-
more?
You've got a list in there, maybe on the back.
we gotta do more.
The packet was the old people.
This is the packet you gave me.
So do we have a list with new?
They were under a paper clip.
Oh, they're under here. I put them all in one pile there.
No.
So these are new,
Those are the new, yeah, those are the
So
new.
these are what you.
Everything
Well,
that-
let me list who you guys approved, and that's fine with me. Terry Jo Heater, you guys appointed for the, Healthcare Endowment Fund Guideline Committee, okay?
She gets 2 jobs. She gets the Dahlia thing and that.
Oh, and the Dahlia too,
Yeah, those
okay.
are both hers.
And did you reappoint here, it says Fire Board Mike Street?
Yeah.
Okay, reappointed Mike Street to the Fire Board. You reappointed Deb Ortiz, I guess,
Yes.
Ortiz to the,
Web
Web
Fund,
Fund,
yeah.
okay?
And you're on that this year, right?
Bob Bertelson, I guess you appointed
Yeah,
as
he's on the
hospital board,
Yes.
okay. Cody Flynn, you appointed, right?
Hospital
Okay.
board.
Gerald Ladd, I
Hospital
don't know
board.
Tim, I don't think, or- yeah, I
He
do.
works for our EMS.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
You don't, that ain't gonna be a conflict, EMS with hospital, is
No, because he does not receive any payment from the hospital, he only gets paid
Okay.
by,
it? All right, Jerry Ladd, and then, Rod Broberg, you didn't appoint him, though, did you?
well, we actually made a correction to the minutes, because he personally, verbally gave us his
Well, he
withdrawal.
Well, he did, but verbally in here, but then he
Yeah.
called me up and said he still wanted to be on the list to be appointed.
Well,
But I didn't tell you guys that, cause he just personally called me, I
Yeah.
thought we'd go over it today, but whatever. Anyway, you didn't reappoint him or Lorelei. Okay,
I feel like if he was gonna make a public statement, then he needed to come back and make a public statement. But
Well-
that's my personal opinion.
anyway, that's over. So we got new ones here, right? And who wants to be on, this is Richard Ansel, wished to be appointed to the hospital board, you didn't reappoint him, did you?
No, he did not.
The bottom part has.
Yeah, he also wants to be, Richard Ansel wants to be on the Lincoln County Repeater Board. So this is new, right?
Yeah.
Do you have an issue with that?
I move he be reappointed to the repeater board, beginning, or for a 3-year term beginning 1 March.
February 28th, today.
Good day, is it?
Everything
That's-
expires today.
Well,
Yeah,
tomorrow's
but-
leap year day, so
Well,
it's one more day.
beginning 29 February then.
Or today, actually, I think.
Well, he's on today, tomorrow he's not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying. My fault. Okay.
Then I'll second that. Any more discussion? We have a motion and a second to reappoint Richard Ansel to the Lincoln County Repeater Board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
That's a
carried.
3-year tour beginning tomorrow.
None opposed? Then we have, another sheet there. Daryl Cheney would like to remain on the Hunter Lake Denmark Fire Board. Daryl Cheney, so,
I move to reappoint Daryl Cheney to the Hunter Denmark Fire Board.
For a 3-year term.
3-year
beginning
term,
tomorrow.
yes.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
It
Let's
is.
make it-
All of them are 3 years,
Let's make it
but there are
another
some
option.
rotations. I would like to see us set up on the website all the boards. And since someone's name is only changing every 3 years, potentially, unless something goes wrong.
Well, we had that somewhere.
Well, we talked about it before, Dawn's
Well,
been
I
busy,
saw
but,
that piece of paper somewhere.
Okay, we have a motion to,
well, I have the file that has all
Yeah,
the boards in
it's-
it.
we don't.
let's move, let's approve this.
Yeah.
You just made a motion. I'll
I-
second.
Yeah, okay.
We have a motion and a second to approve Daryl Cheney, to reappoint Daryl Cheney to the Hunter Denmark Fire Board for a 3-year term. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried, none opposed. You want that
I'll
list,
leave
Jim?
this out.
Yeah, leave that
See
out.
what we're doing.
Okay. Then we have Mark Keller here. Mark Keller would like to remain on the Hunter Denmark Fire Board.
Mark or Terry?
Mark A. Heller.
He's the one that should have been appointed last year, so he's the 2019 appointment that never got made.
Oh, okay.
So this will be to fill an expired term. So I move to appoint Mark Heller to fulfill an unexpired term
For 2 more
For the
years.
period of 2
ending
years.
2022.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
ending February 28th, 2022. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Dawn?
and I second that.
For the Hunter Denmark Fire Board.
Any discussion, Jim? Or anything?
Goody good.
Okay, a motion's been made and second to reappoint Mark A. Heller to the Hunter Denmark Fire Board for a 2-year term, or for remaining term, right? That is, to a
Unexpired.
2-year term. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Please forgive me, but Jim seconded that one?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Bill. If
That's
I go
okay.
too fast, Don, just tell me to slow down, because I know I get going too fast. Okay? Are you ready for
Yep.
now? Terry Heater would like to remain on the Hunter Denmark.
Heller, Terry.
Oh, Heller, Terry Heller, I'm sorry. Thought that was, Terry J. Heller would like to remain on the Hunter Denmark Fire Board for a 3-year term, I guess, a 2-year term.
I move that Terry Heller be reappointed to the Hunter Rural Fire District Board for a period of 3 years, beginning 29 February 2020.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? Okay, we have a motion made to reappoint Terry Heller to the Hunter Denmark Fire Board for a 3-year term. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Okay.
Here's an application for a county appointed to the Board of the Central Kansas Library System.
I think we did that,
Did
didn't
you,
we?
did Kathy Moss, did we approve her?
No, you guys didn't.
We did, we said
Oh,
put
we looked at it,
Yeah.
okay. I move to approve,
Kathy Moss.
Kathy Moss to the, let's see, Central Kansas Library System. I think it's called the Executive Board. What is it called?
Central Kansas.
Executive
Board.
Committee.
It's a
Committee.
regional board.
It's called Executive
Oh,
Committee.
okay.
I shall second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to appoint Kathy Moss to the Central Kansas Library System Board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Anything else?
I move to appoint Jeremiah Zacco to, do we have an opening on that? Do we still have
It
an
was
opening?
last year's.
Oh. I move to appoint Jeremiah Zacco to the Lincoln County Repeater Board for an unexpired term ending February 28th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have a motion and a second to appoint Jeremiah Zacco to the Lincoln County Repeater Board. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. What exactly do they do on a repeater board? Do you know, Don, or anybody know?
You would have to ask them more, but they basically maintain the repeaters, and they have it's very small bills, but there's utilities, but every once in a while, they'll have to upgrade the repeaters, and they have to come to you and ask for
Money.
permission.
And I think at this point, they agreed to have ownership over the sirens, right? When we did the grant where we used some of the remaining funds out of the emergency management budget to upgrade all the sirens in those locations, the repeater board agreed to take on ownership of the physical property because they're sitting, the sirens are on like different cities' poles and different I don't know if it's township ownership or what for the ones out in the country, but I know, like, for example, Sylvan owns the property and they owned the pole, so when we put the new siren on, the repair board agreed to take ownership of it. The last discussion I remember, so.
Okay.
Out in my house, they have a real repeater station,
All
the
right.
tower, the Connex container.
Are those battery powered and they have to replace
No,
batteries?
it's electric.
Electric, but,
Yeah, it's on rolling.
they probably have a way to check them or something, I suppose. Huh?
Oh, they're out, they come out there, the board members come out there and look at things and run tests and all that, make sure they're still working.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, we'll
Their
move on.
purpose, you know, is to extend the radio communication to
Right.
the dead zone.
Radio communications, right. Okay. We'll move on here. Mike Cole here. I would like to agree to another term on the Beverly Westfall Fire Board. And I know Mike, and he's been on.
I move we approve Mike Cole for another 3-year term beginning 29 February this year.
I'll second that. Any discussion like this? We have a motion and a second to reappoint Mike Cole to the Westfall Beverly Fire Board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Is that it, I guess?
Well,
Do you have more?
we need to, you've got it's more that we don't have letters for. What shall we do with them? Do without or?
Well, if we don't have any applicants,
Well, I talked to the two guys, Dean Thamer and Ray Keller of Sylvan Fire District, and they would like to be reappointed, but they haven't got their papers in. I talked to them, I don't know, whenever it was, Tuesday, I guess, the next day,
okay.
and told them to call Dawn and get their paperwork in, but they didn't do it. But they do want to be reappointed. Should we wait on the paperwork or reappoint?
I believe we can reappoint based on the fact that there's no other, I would say if we had another applicant that was interested who put their paperwork in,
Yeah.
I would prefer to address that person, but since we have someone wanting to remain on the board that with no contest, I wouldn't mind reappointing them.
I agree. I think we should just reappoint him now.
What I'd like to explain, because when I first got on the board, there was no paperwork attached to anything. The only thing we ever got was Dawn's compilation of who existed on the boards. And therefore, when we weren't advertising, when we didn't know when the terms were up, when we didn't have anyone requesting formally to be on, it appeared as if whoever wanted to remain on could remain on indefinitely, with no discussion. And so I'm not opposed to reappointing people who are interested, but I think when there is a request from someone new, it shows that there's transparency in the board openings.
Then we
Does
should
that
have
make
more of
sense?
a debate about it too.
Well, it's just like the contention with the hospital board.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to be discussed there. We could have another 3 meetings on it if we really wanted to. I think the idea is we had people who physically showed an interest. If you really wanted to bring it down to the minute details, you could interview everyone at the table if you wanted to. But
Well, we could have brought them all in for interviews, just like you do hiring somebody, like a job applicant.
and maybe that's more appropriate on those boards that expend a lot of money. I mean, we're
Like the
appointing
hospital.
people who expend more money than we do, technically.
$7 million budget,
Yeah.
$8.5 million last year.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So,
But
anyway,
on this, I
we can
agree.
go ahead with that,
I
in my
agree.
opinion. I think it's a
Go ahead.
formality, but
I move we reappoint both Dean Thamer and Ray Keller to the Sylvan Grove Rural Fire District for a 3-year term beginning on February 29, 2020.
I'll second that.
Randy second.
We have a motion and a second to reappoint. Who is
Dean
it?
Thamer
Dean
and Ray
Thamer.
Keller.
Dean Tabor and Ray Keller for another 3-year term. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Motion carried.
One of the things we talked about was the preservation board, and we're of the opinion we'll just let it fade away.
Alfred said we should disband it. I asked him
Well-
about that. Because he says they never meet anymore,
Yeah,
and there's nothing that they do.
we thought we'd just let it go. These appointments already expired, those 3, and these 3 expired today, so all 6 members will be gone sun up in the
Should
morning.
we make a motion to disband that
I
whole?
just wouldn't say anything about it, be done with it.
I don't care what he
That
said.
way, if we don't, and something comes up,
they can
and the
approach,
governor comes in here and says, where the hell is your preservation board? It should be doing this, this, this. I can't imagine that happening, but we haven't thrown it out.
We don't have a
the
requirement.
the
Anywhere to do
history
that,
of it
right?
that I understand is that they were self-formed in order to request a special mill levy.
Yeah.
Which they never got. They did put it on the ballot, I think Dawn said 2 or 3 times. They never did get it, so they kind of self-formed, which, I don't know, is there a resolution to form that, Dawn, as a as a county appointed board, do you have any idea?
No.
I agree with your conclusion, we should just kind of let it
Yeah,
be,
well,
let it rest.
sundown tonight, it's done.
We can, or just,
But I do have
Do
a
nothing.
motion, and we can discuss how to task this, it doesn't have to I'm not gonna put a timestamp on it, but I move to include on the county website a complete list of the county appointed boards with current members, terms, and explanation of the board and their meeting dates and times.
And you guys are gonna gather all that information?
Oh, yes.
update the web.
Yeah,
We
that's
have-
why I'm not putting a time on it.
We have
Time limit.
access to that, we have access to do that, you do here?
I don't, but we'll have to go through Dawn's office at some point, but what she's saying is she wants us to give her the information, not to ask her to collect it.
Because I don't know what these boards do, and you guys are the ones that are appointing them, so it's
Right.
up to you to talk to those boards to find out.
Well, case in point, I should say, is that the,
Or, Don, you're in charge of Lincoln County webpage? Are you?
No.
Oh, well, who is?
Individual department is in charge
Each
of their own
individual
webpage.
department. Maybe we could do,
we could do it under the commission though.
we could do it on the commission, we'll do
But I
it.
don't have access to that, so I'll either need access
We don't have
or-
access to that.
We can do that if you compile the information.
Well, then it ain't more work for you. I hate to give you all this extra work, like doing this. I think this is a good idea, but then that's just more work for you, and you
It's-
gotta know.
It's not that much.
No, I'll update it.
But somebody
that's
has to
okay.
go and see what the boards do, and
Yeah.
ask them what they do, because if you're
Sure.
laying that on me, then
No,
I don't have time.
I agree,
to do it.
Don, I agree.
Can I
All
get a
the
second
boards
to my
listed on
motion?
here.
Yeah,
Can I get a
I'll
second?
I'll second it, Alexis.
All the boards listed on here?
Yes.
I have this is more of a
Okay.
professional compilation that Dawn's done in the past.
Okay.
All that is like the turnover,
So we-
so
And
now-
that was done in Access, and we can't get it to open anymore, so we've started.
that's
creating
okay,
a new
I don't
document.
need anything out of your format, like the format, I just need the information,
We can
as
just
far
put
as
it on.
whoever's still on here, or how many seats exist on the, it's a base point.
We can just put it on a Word
Yeah.
document.
We
Yeah.
have it started, we just have to
Yeah.
input the new dates.
And as long as we can get access to the county, us commissioners could, for something like that, and then I'll do it, or, I don't know.
Well, if we have a document, we can just.
And we
open
could
the
explain
document.
to the public, each, like you just said, a repeater board, I asked, what the heck do they do? Well, I'm sure how most of the county doesn't know what they do. We could put an explanation, that's what the repeater board people do. And then, in the same way with all these boards, like you had that, I didn't even know we had that child board that we appointed, Terry Heater to. These aren't, I don't know if the public knows how to do.
No,
So we should put that, I think it's a good idea, Alexis, so put that out, explain things, and we could do it, though, I think we as commissioners can do it, then you don't have to do all that work, okay?
Was there a second?
I'll second that. So we have a motion, a second what did you wanna do again?
I think she got most of what I said, I want a description of, on the commission page on the internet.
On a commission page, on the, on
All
the,
the boards that we appoint, the seats, the terms, the definition of the board, and the meeting places and times, so that it's
Yeah.
made
Okay.
publicly aware.
so we have a motion, a second to basically put all this on all these boards on the, web, on our webpage. All, any more discussion, Jim? All in favor, say aye.
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 And
Motion
I have
carried.
this in here if you guys ever
And
need
we
it.
won't put, no deadline date on doing this, but we need to make sure we don't forget about it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alexis, do we have access on, we don't have access to that on through our computer here.
Not yet, I will have to do
We
that,
get
and I
access.
can,
As soon as we get access, then we can add that on
Yeah.
there. And I can help too, I know you do a lot of work on
I'll be happy to have you help
Okay.
on it. I mean, I'll help gather the
Yeah.
information.
Sure.
If we do a Word document, we can just copy and paste it
it.
on.
Okay.
But we just have to get,
I think that is a good idea to have those things on there for the public to see. And then they got, and then, but I don't wanna give more work always to Don, cause that always seems like we do something, it goes to the county clerk's office.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so we have correspondence from the Lincoln County Health Department, and she has every department head on here and us. I would like to meet with the department heads on Friday, March 6th, if possible, at 2 p.m. I really need you all to be in attendance. If that date does not work, please let me know as soon as possible. My schedule is kind of crazy, but I will try to make it work for most of us. This will be a situational awareness meeting on coronavirus and a brief discussion of continuation of operations planning. It will not be open to the public. My goal is to avoid panic and encourage preparedness. Thank you. I do take issue if we three attend, it will be open to the public. Especially if there's any decision-making process or county commission action. Now, we could attend the meeting with the premise that we will not have any discussion amongst the three of us, that we will not participate in any decision-making discussion. We could still ask questions.
We did that
like
like a hospital board before.
Right.
We've all three been there.
Right, but well, I guess it just says it's a situational awareness, so she would be presenting information. But if anything required commission action, it could not be a closed meeting,
Is that
so
at
that's
her,
my
that
only.
at her office?
Well, she doesn't say where, does she? It just says, I would like to meet with the department heads on Friday, March 6th, if possible, at 2 p.m. I really need you all to be in attendance. Maybe, Dawn, has she asked, is it supposed to happen here? In the courthouse? Has she said anything?
We have to, probably don't know.
Okay,
You have to email her where at.
I'm just
I'll
gonna,
find out why she wants us.
Well, because this coronavirus thing, I think they're wanting to.
situational update.
You know, why would she want us there?
Because we are the head of the health board, technically. She is the health officer,
Yeah.
and we are on the health board, as the commission is the health
What
board.
does she intend to accomplish by having us there?
Well, just brief us probably and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you been going to some of this emergency management stuff now? What's that going on with that?
Well, I went to one Wednesday all day. And, I talked to, what's his name, Haber?
Oh, yeah.
He'll-
Yeah, from
he'll be
Russell
here-
Ellsworth?
Yeah, he'll be here one of these days. He said that he's looking forward to coming here.
Do you have a lot of good information?
Yeah.
Awesome. Do we want to assign a delegate from our board, or do we all want to attend? Because I'm gonna just let her know
Well,
if this requires any commission action
that day I have
I'll
a HR class in Salina.
in the morning.
Well, it's all, yeah, 9
Or,
o'clock.
I mean, in the
It'll be all day.
Okay.
I could go to this.
But
Yeah,
If you don't want to, I
We
can.
would be better.
No,
better off.
I'd be glad.
I'll go to.
Okay.
It's 2 o'clock, but we gotta find out where. Next Friday, week from today, 2 o'clock, 2
2
p.m.
o'clock?
Yeah, 2 p.m. somewhere. Yeah, I'll tell them.
Mr. Gateman, I don't think you need to be in attendance. If there's something critical, we can update you, and
Well, yeah.
I don't think there's
I
gonna
would
be.
even think if we only had one of us there, then we wouldn't have to have a meeting per se, and we would still get the information. But if she has a reason for us to be there, she needs a decision or something like that, then that's different. We probably ought to know what she has in mind for the committee to be there.
It's on the agenda for Monday to talk to you guys.
Well, she's coming Monday.
Okay, then let's just not
Okay.
respond. We'll just, that's a week away, so
Okay.
I guess no news is good news to her. Then she can continue with her planning.
But I should be there, and I'll may just have to leave class at 1 o'clock. Because that's one of the county plans that we have to have written up pretty soon,
What class are you going to? Yeah.
human resources.
Oh, HR. Is the RD HR person going there too?
I don't know, I don't think so. But it seems to me like she thought it was a little too early for her to go to that.
Okay.
She jumped right into HR. The day after she did it, she did HR work in the highway department like she was supposed to. And we commend her for doing it.
Okay.
She's
Don,
superb.
what do you think, Sarah, so far doing okay?
Yes,
Good.
very refreshing.
So we'll do that Monday, we'll find out what that's all about, make some decision.
Sure, yes, we'll just talk to you a little on Monday.
Alright.
Now, I would like us to address the pay scale today. We have a little bit of time to discuss unless anybody's trying to run out of here.
That's fine.
You know, our Mondays are always crammed.
Can we ask Sarah to come down?
Oh, sure, yep.
You need to take a break. We can take a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's come back in.
Oh. I gotta get my coat here, and I need a key. I don't need a key. I have to get in the truck. How to do?
Good morning.
Hi, how are you,
You
Sarah?
getting my daily missives?
I am, yes.
Are they good for you?
Some of them, yes, but I didn't have time to go back through them.
I haven't seen one yet today. Yep, here it comes, I bet you. Yes, it is.
Okay,
Next is
I
what-
would like to talk about pay scale.
Okay.
And Mr. Gableman, did you get my emails that I forwarded you?
Uh-uh.
James Gableman
I'm looking at
at
it right here.
JamesGabelmann @gmail.com.
Not there.
Check your spam. Do you know how to check your spam? Under. What day did I send those?
Monday.
What is the date on Monday? 24?
How you get along, Sarah? You like it okay so
Good.
far?
Yeah.
So far so good?
Yes.
Good.
Debt relief,
Got
is
your
that
payroll
yours?
pretty good?
No. Go back to your inbox. You see your.
Let me see something else here. Let me get too far. Yeah, I got
right
these
there.
four, okay,
That's
yeah, I
that,
got
that-
those, yeah,
mhm.
those I have. I already filed them under
Okay.
commission.
Those are the ones. We have not received, let's see. Okay. We have not received a sheriff report, payroll, pay scale, EMS. Now, the good thing about those two departments is I've talked to both of them, the department heads, and apparently we're very caught up on our pay rates as far as comparative numbers go, in surrounding areas. Actually, I think our paramedic starting rate is a whole dollar and some more than even Ellsworth starts their paramedic
Yeah.
rate. We're actually pretty high on that
Like
end.
16, isn't it? For starting.
We're at 17, I think, for our starting paramedic rate.
No, I think we started somebody at 15. You have to do it.
I think Mr. Peterson would have been the last person.
I'm pretty sure he was at 15 something, wasn't he? I'll look.
Either way, I think what the department head said is that we're still a dollar above whatever that dollar amount is. So EMS needs to create one, Sheriff's Department needs to create one. They also said we were competitive with our wages in their department.
County attorney's working on hers.
Okay. Health Department needs to create one.
Yep, I've talked to Donna, she knows what I want. The highway department's a big holdup, cause I can't get them to sit down long enough to do what I want them to do.
Well, but we do have a pay scale by numbers and levels. We don't have what you wanted, which was an additional description under each.
Yeah, your pay scale, I don't think is any good unless you have that. You have to be able to justify what step you are within that, I think.
I am not disagreeing with what you're requesting. I'm just saying we do have an actual numeric
Yep.
form to work with there. We have to do our own, and we talked about setting a cap on our custodian's wages right now,
Yep,
as far as we think that we have him at the high end of the pay scale, and that comes with these particular expectations.
well,
And until we do a readjustment of the entire pay scale to adjust for inflation, he's probably at a cap, at a maximum income for the position.
well, but what we need to do is sit down on our pay scale and decide what the minimum is for a brand new person coming in to every job we have.
Right.
And then look at the people we have and decide what level they're in.
Well, I'm saying the only one we've discussed that's our responsibility is that
Yeah.
position. So we need to go, our board needs to come
Well-
up with that for all the department heads.
$15 an hour.
It's 15? Okay, so I think it's, maybe we're not over a dollar more, but I think it's only 14 something in Ellsworth. we need the landfill, we need the landfill to come up with their own, because they have employees. We also technically need Noxious Weed too, because he's supposed to be looking for help. So they both need to come up with something for their help. But then we have to come up with, for the department heads, what we are going to pay. Who am I missing? Department-wise.
Well, appraiser,
That's under us though.
yeah,
Well, I guess she needs her own,
you gotta do Terry.
yeah. She needs to do pay scale for her, one employee. Treasurer. Clerk. So we need to get working on the department head numbers.
Well, we had some pretty good numbers on that, and I didn't bring them, that we worked out the other day when we sat in here. We went down each department head on what they're.
Oh, on our notes.
Yeah, and I just didn't bring it today. I didn't realize we were gonna do that, but we pretty much got the department heads nailed down on where they should be and what their salaries is gonna be.
I'm just gonna start off by suggesting, let's go with the custodian since we talked about that. I think the baseline there as a first time employee for the custodial work can easily be set at minimum wage. I think if you're going to train someone or bring someone in for succession planning or anything like that, I think that job can be performed at that level as an entry level job. I believe that we are now at a higher pay, we're at almost double that, well, we are at double that right now, technically, because there's a trust factor there. This person has access to the courthouse, is here alone. There are some things that position requires eventually that merit a higher pay, but I think the skill level starting out can easily be set lower.
So
Depends on how
you're
much
talking about,
Depends on how much
I'm saying if
responsibility.
you had
there is.
well, I
if
mean,
you had
are you
someone-
talking about $15 is the minimum pay, or what are you talking?
No, I'm saying if you set the custodian's job, the base number 1 through 5 or whatever, and the base
Yeah.
income is at minimum wage.
Yeah,
If you're
what do
gonna
you
come
call
in
the
to
minimum
train,
wage, though?
whatever the minimum wage is, $7.50. Is that what the minimum wage is?
That's too low, you know, I gotta get
$7.25
better for that.
an hour.
It's
I
$7.25.
could see $12 or something, that's about our county minimum that we fire low. That's about the lowest we hire anybody out here in the county, what, $12? I would say
$12.30
that.
is what our starting wage was last year.
I could say that, I wouldn't go clear to 7 unless if you'll never get anybody for that, not anybody good.
Well, I'm not saying that's their salary, their wage per se. I'm saying let's say you brought someone in to train, to learn how to
But-
clean.
Well, that may be a trainee, I could see it. And also, we're supposedly, you know, we were talking maintenance with that, how much maintenance, you know, do they do? That's the question, you know, do they just clean or are they maintenance too, and how much maintenance? They gotta repair this toilet or the?
Don, we were kind of interested in seeing some of the bills from the courthouse. Do you have those filed in any particular way that they can be accessed by keyword or something like that we could just see over the last year what we've spent on the courthouse general? No?
No, but I can look into it and see.
No, I'm just thinking if there's an easy way. What about accounts payable from general to street plumbing or something like that? Can we?
We can look at each vendor, but each vendor is going to have the total dollar amount that they pay county-wide. So like if they did work out at the nursing home, it's gonna include that.
Yeah.
Let me write it down and I'll do some thinking.
Okay. I mean, at some point, we have to justify the expense for the full-time salary versus what it would be to just completely subcontract out every single job that needs done for that position.
What, maintenance?
Yeah.
Cleaning? They'd have to get hire a full-time cleaning person or a outfit and then if we do maintenance, you're gonna have to call street every 10 minutes like they do at the hospital or the nursing home. I don't know if that's cheaper.
What I'm asking though is how much have we been spending on street is kind of.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if it'd be cheaper. It may be in the long run, but I don't know.
I'm not suggesting that we transfer that, I'm saying you justify the wages for one person to do all that against the cost to the county if you were to do it otherwise.
Contract everything.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about that about every job we got in the county almost. Contract it out or hire them, you know. It's expensive with the benefits. You can almost contract a lot of stuff out. So, you know, depends on how far you wanna go with that.
Well, I'm gonna say what we can do is put a cap on that position at $16 an hour.
Well, I'd start him, if it were me, I'd start him at 12, as a brand new
Yeah,
person walking in off the street, and he'd be responsible for cleaning and the maintenance. Now, the maintenance that we're talking about is changing light bulbs and that kind of stuff. We're not talking about rebuilding electric switch. But
yeah.
these are routine things that any householder does in their own
But,
house.
but see, there's different, yeah, what level of maintenance do you talk to? You got guys like that, at the nursing home, Jonathan, he's pretty good.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't.
Well, sometimes he's pretty good.
We don't want Jonathan's maintenance skill. We just want a regular routine, and we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
spell it out on the things that have to be done.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, what level of
Yeah,
maintenance do you want?
but
You can get,
I would think we'd start pretty much all of our basic
12
hires
bucks.
at $12,
yeah,
and then
move
go
up,
up from there.
yeah. Well, we
But
kinda,
then we have to have our discriminants to decide how far we're going and what steps we're going and all that.
well, somebody's really good, and they've been here 15 years,
Well,
you
but
know.
we need to be able, when we hire the guy, say if you do this, this, and this, then your pay will be up to 12 and a quarter or whatever.
Or 15, 16 bucks eventually.
Yeah, but we need to be able to tell him when and how and what he's got to do to make it go up.
Yeah, we need maybe better description of the job description for the levels, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's what but I think starting at 12 for a new person walking on the streets, not at all out of toward. You add the benefits package to that, he's got a nice paycheck.
Well, five steps brings you to $16 an hour.
And that's, I think that's
So about
adequate.
$1 per
That's
step.
what we do, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, I would do that, like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then,
That'd work for me. I think that's where we ought to be. We just have to figure out what those 5 steps are.
Okay,
And that's, you know,
so let's move on to appraiser.
now we had her salary on that other sheet and I didn't bring it.
I have some of that though.
And it's her helper that we wanna do.
Well, no, she is responsible for doing her helper. Right?
Yeah,
but-
with some assist.
Oh, I think I took away I think I walked away with my 2019 one.
so the department head is supposed to be doing the, scales.
We can
for their-
probably do it pretty
for their
easily, cause it's just
employees.
this plus 50 cents, so.
Yeah, yeah. Alexis, is that what you're thinking, department head should do the scales for their employees?
Absolutely, at least bring us their suggestions and then we approve or debate something that doesn't jive.
Okay,
Okay, so 2018 appraiser was 3333 times 12 is 3996. Okay, and what was the 50 cents, 0.5 times 2080? Is an extra 1040 on top of, let's see, equals divided by 12. So 8666 on top of 3333 plus 8660. So she's about at 3420 a month right now. That's just
And
rounding.
what's that in hours though?
3420 times 12 is 4140. Divided by 2080 is 1973. I think
Yeah.
that's right where we were,
That's,
somewhere.
yeah,
in there.
that's, alright.
And these are not exact to the cent, but close. Okay. Then I think Terry is at 1475, and it was suggested that be brought up to 1525 for the.
Well, yeah, that's what she is now, but what would a brand new person walking in get?
Terry's?
Well,
Yeah.
no, not Terry. We're talking about Rhonda. I was just making a note of
Well,
what
no, I
Terry
mean
said.
Terry. What would Terry get walking in off the street?
12 bucks probably too, like, the thing.
She doesn't have to have any special training to do that. So then she'd start at 12, And then she'd go up, and right now, she's making how much?
15.25. That's
So
before.
she's about step 4 then,
Um,
Terry,
yeah,
oh yeah.
yeah.
how long's
So,
she been here?
See, that's, when we publish our
We
pay
have a
scale, we
data
need
hire.
That's all
to
right.
show where each of these people
No,
are.
we need to know that though.
She's a appraiser junior step 4, or whatever we're gonna call that. 'Cause if we get a new person walking in, they need to know they're gonna start here and they'll work up, and she's
Right.
been here long enough to work up, she's a step 4.
Right.
Yeah, I like that, that's the kind of scale, now we
But how
just
high
have,
will you go?
Well, step
Well-
5 should be about 1650.
yeah, or whatever we wanna set as a top limit on that.
But once you get top limit, they're done, they can never go
Right.
higher.
Well,
That's right.
until you reassess the entire pay scale, which means you take everything times 1.5% or whatever you're doing that
Yeah.
year, you increase everything.
Like a cost of living along.
Yeah,
Right.
they're probably gonna get a COLA every year of about 1.5, 1.4, 1.5 every year.
Well, I don't know
We
that
don't
that's.
have to do that. But
Yeah, I don't
that's
know
the-
that it's every year, but it's much more feasible than trying to take 50 cents per capita
Yeah, no,
yearly
yeah.
and then skip a year and then everybody gets
Do the
50
COLA.
cents and
Do the
wherever
COLA.
you get hired in
Yeah.
at the current
Yeah.
hiring rate is higher than what someone else is making who's been here 10 years. Yeah, you can't continue to do that. You have to set the pay scale and then,
That's why we gotta
let's say
get
we
this.
set it
and-
for 2020. In
Yeah.
2021, it may not change.
Yeah.
But then you may come back and do a
Exactly.
2% increase across
But
the
if we
board.
do that, you can just put that in your machine and their spreadsheet will crank everybody's up where it belongs.
Exactly.
So are you saying 5 steps then, total?
That's what
Or
I would like us to consider. I think 9 was a little intense for the highway department, but that was kind of based off of Saline County, and I think the gradation is, you can do a little more cross-training, you can do a little more manipulation of positions in that department. In the departments where you just have your department head and your clerk, or your clerical assistant, there's not a lot of, you have to assume X responsibilities to get Y pay. You can't necessarily just do half of it because someone else is gonna pick up the other duty, And it's kinda like I was explaining to you, Dawn, my thoughts on that. When you're running an office, do you want 2 minimum wage people because you have that much paper pushing to do that doesn't require as much skill set? Or do you want one person that's making those double wages who is reliable and knowledgeable and continues to grow in their accumulation of duties? There's a big difference there.
There is, but the problem is when the workload is too much for the one person to take on that much, then you do need an entry-level position that can do some of the minor stuff.
And maybe some of that is where you decide how much part-time you're gonna have. You can have that one key person and pay them very well, but you can also find it in your budget to be able to do some part-time, like I think you've been doing. I mean, there's been a huge transition with you taking over 100% of the HR duties for the last year or whatever. Okay, let's go down to, let's talk about Rhonda. She's been here
Long
about
time.
3 decades. and
25 years.
She's at 1973, and she has continuing education, and this used to be an elected position, but now it's commission appointed. And remember, for whatever reason, the state has required that the commission sign a 4-year contract with this person. Much to my dismay, when I looked at the contract, it has no employment price, so you're not really contracting a certain job to be performed for a certain dollar amount. You're just basically guaranteeing someone tenure. I was kind of astonished to see that. It's interesting to me. I think it was the state's way of turning it from an
Wonder
elected
why-
position into an appointed.
Wonder why they took it away from being elected to a higher or contracted.
Well, they claim that it was promoting a lot of turnover.
Well, probably would. Well, if somebody didn't get reelected or out, then but, cause you probably want somebody with a lot of knowledge in there for a lot of years, cause they learn a lot, you could say that on every job, really, appointed job, elected job, I guess, too, so.
Well, do you or don't you? I mean,
Well, it's good
We
to have
started
experience, but
our-
they ain't got to be in there forever, and then they get entrenched like Washington, we just do that.
What did we say the starting salary for one of our minor department heads was going to be? Was that 15?
we did not say, but that's about, I'd say probably, yeah, between 14 and 15 is where we were, because right now, we're at 15 and 16 for the minor department heads. Noxious weed was at about 16 something,
Yeah,
and
but
landfill was at 15 something.
did we start at 15 or did we start a little lower? I don't remember where we started those folks.
Well, a lot of them have been here a while, like
Yeah.
Dan Hanna has been here quite a long time, and he's at 16.
Sherry's been here about 10 years, hasn't
Not quite, I
Yeah,
think,
8.
not quite, yeah. Yeah, probably closer to that. Let's see, where are we here? Recycling, ambulance.
You started at 14, is that correct?
Here?
Yeah. 17? Okay.
Okay, here we
And
go.
we agreed when we were talking about your position that you had some additional training and requirements that the other minor department heads didn't have. So if they were 15 or 16, we'd be in consonance.
Let's say 15. That's a $3 an hour jump from being subordinate to superior in your office.
And that, I think you need that discrimination.
Absolutely.
And that would cover noxious weed and the trash, whatever they call themselves up
Landfill.
there.
it? Landfill.
Transfer station, whatever.
And also, does Ray count on that as part-time? So he'd be a part-time $15 an hour starting out?
No, not in my opinion.
All right.
I mean, I think
How about transportation?
That job relative to what the position's making right now is purely due to the person's longevity who's been in there. I'm not sure who couldn't perform that function for less than $15 an hour at a part-time rate.
Yep, it's just,
Yeah, I would say that's when you go back down to the $12 an
how
hour.
about transportation?
$12 an hour.
You think
There's-
12?
Now, what his ranking is now, he's $2 above that, but he does all his own paperwork,
Yeah, but
which
he's-
ultimately falls on the responsibility of the commission
But
if
he's
he's
one
not
of our
doing it.
minor department heads, cause he will have an employee or should have an employee.
But,
He has responsibility for the.
we
vehicle.
But if you look at the utilization of the secondary employee in that department, it's only been to fill in when that department head cannot be there. So really, are they managing an employee, or are they just finding themselves a replacement driver? Cause there is a huge difference there.
but that's usually when you do use a sub, when the primary guy's not doing it, can't be there.
But I'm saying then you're not truly a department head. You're just running,
Well, you're only one person who you over.
right, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't really have an employee
You can
per
just call
se.
him the transportation bus operator or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, the fact that the state pays us 80% for his job, right? Reimburse. Does that figure in what his wages would be?
I don't think it should,
It shouldn't
because the
matter.
state could go away sometime.
Well, right now they're reimbursing us 80% of that. So I don't know if that makes a
But
difference.
that's a stroke.
What do
of
you
the pen.
think?
They could-
What?
Even though the state reimburses like highway, the bus.
It's not 80%. I think it's
like-
shared. I think
We get,
it's almost a match. It's not quite 50-50, but it's close to that.
well, Anna Marie was saying, I talked to her the other day, she's glad she's off that board now, by the way, the bus board.
Oh, good.
And she said that she thought the state paid 80%. I don't know. That doesn't really matter what we pay them, I guess.
Well, it does because he requests 20,000, and I think their total budget is, well, maybe it's more than a match because it's not 40. I think it's closer to 50. Dawn, do you know what the total bus budget is with the state included? I think it's maybe 50. Our portion's only 20.
$20,000.
Mm-hmm.
That, not including benefits, right?
No, that does not include benefits. That's just the
Salary, or budget, money.
Well, that's
For the department.
the benefits come out of their total budget, but our county contribution to the budget is 20,000 flat, or somewhere near there this last year, which we haven't increased it. So I think we could easily implement this pay scale if we tack it onto the job descriptions as far as what the expectations are for the entry level on the job description versus what and we don't have to attach the numbers to the job description, but it can say there are 5 stages in this job opportunity. This is your entry level requirement. You know, you can be a trainee,
Yeah.
you can be, have minimum educational requirements, blah, blah, blah. But then at the max tier, you would have to perform these additional essential functions in order to qualify. You know, as you wanted a description,
Yep.
that can be part of the job description. We already have job descriptions for every single job. Have you had those yet? Have you seen those yet?
So what job are you talking about, any of them?
Any, but the ones mainly under us are the ones that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk about the EMS situations, or the situation with the EMS here. It's like, if the director of the department is not going to be in the office 5 days a week doing specific hours, if they're just taking these 2 shifts, then how much of their management duty are they delegating? Are they delegating it to a particular employee? Is there gonna be like an assistant position because that particular department head is only there 2 days a week, so then the assistant is at least there the other 2 days of the 7? Then you have 4 out of 7 covered with some sort of management tactic. If the department head is gonna do that, then he's actually worth less, in my opinion, because he's performing the functions of taking the shift, but he's delegating some of his management duties to someone else. So then that person can be elevated in their ability to make money and have responsibility, but that also takes away from the need to compensate financially the department head. Do you know what I'm saying? The department head down there is getting 8 hours of overtime at whatever rate, just because they're taking that shift. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can discuss that.
The transportation bus budget was $69,755.
69. Wow, I didn't realize it was that much. So we're only paying 20 of that.
So that's,
So that's just between a quarter and a third. Huh, I didn't realize that. I thought we subsidized a heavier portion of it.
How much did Jerry get paid? I don't know.
He's at 1405 currently. I do know that.
Where's the rest of the money go then? We get the state subsidizes that much extra.
The vehicle, the gas,
Vehicle,
the
gas, all
he has benefits.
Benefits, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this part-time
Advertising.
person too, huh? Yeah, all right.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the old job descriptions here because I do have them.
So where are we here? What do we want to try to do, levels and how much, Alexis, and where are we at on this?
Well, you're saying that the entrance wage for any position is $12 an hour. I don't necessarily
Well-
agree with that, but I guess.
Well, I'm not saying it has to be,
it's just an arbitrary number, pick any number you want.
yeah, I'm not saying it has to be that either. I'm just saying that's where we had been, kind of, county, right, Don, kind of there. So, I don't know, it can vary depending on department.
Well, we need to look at the realistic market too. I mean,
Well, your highway department guys, you know, there's more of a demand for a lot of them, especially if you're
well, we kind of have some.
experienced operators, you know, you can go, a lot of places get $20-30 an hour if you're good at running heavy equipment, or more. You know, we gotta look at the job description.
I'm gonna pull up the pay scale that we did get from the highway department just to show you where we are, which we already looked at once, but this, let's see. Where did he send that? Okay, highway department pay scale. He has. Okay, he has road, bridge, mechanic, then bridge foreman, office manager. So the three are kind of just a specialized situation where you have mechanic, bridge foreman, and office manager. You're only gonna have potentially one of those, but he still has 9 steps included. And he has your mechanic entry level at 1521 with a max out at 2196. Bridge foreman entrance at 16, which is just slightly higher than the mechanic entrance, and maxed out at 2375. And then the office manager starting wage 1475, maxing out at 2130. So then between your road and bridge, which is where we have the bulk of our crew, the bridge positions are just slightly higher, starting out at 1365 and maxing out at 1961. Then the road position starting out at 1311 and maxing out at 1883. So currently,
The roads are cheap.
we do not have any, right, and that's gonna be the bulk of your employment there. So we do not have anyone maxed out and in the road, position at 1883.
Well, that's
The
road,
next highest position we have is the number 7, which is 2 steps from the max, and that's at 1740. And I believe, if I'm correct, he's also one of the longest tenured employees.
I guess road is.
So we have one person at a level 7.
Road is grader driver, truck driver, dozer driver, right? And excavator.
Which, going along
excavator.
with, right, so, and the bulldozer, so, or maybe you said that, but what you were saying is if we get a description attached to each level, when you can transfer to the next level, you should have to check off this check mark, which is I can now fill in for the bulldozer operator when he's gone.
Yeah.
I may be I may be on my route with a motor grader, but when I have acquired the skills to operate the bulldozer so that if it's in my area, I can use it, or if the guy's out on vacation, I can use it, then that justifies me to get to the next step. I don't think anyone should be at a step 9 unless they're proficient on all pieces of equipment, that you can send that guy, hey, we have a special project going on,
Right.
you have to fill in for so-and-so who's not here.
And that promotes cross-training, like we was one.
Right.
Like if you're a truck driver, you can run a grader or a dozer. That way then you get more reason to get higher grade.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So we currently, like I said, we have one at a number 7, which I'm not even sure that particular person is cross-trained on all the equipment. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not that aware.
Well, he probably doesn't have that type
What
of.
if they had like an equipment operator 1 and an equipment operator 2, rather than,
The road.
yeah.
Well, good. Also, we got road and bridge here. He does. Some of the road guys probably help the bridge crew out every now and then. They kind of work together, don't they? So we got a definition, but splitting them up. But a lot of them guys probably work together. Like the truck drivers are going to be hauling stuff to the bridge crew, rock and stuff, when they're doing some culvert or bridge, right?
Well, if I just had to average these numbers right now in front of me on the pay scale as he wants it, bumping them up accordingly right now, like to the current, the average number is a 3. So we have a lot of people on a step 3 out of a 9-step option, which currently that means our average pay rate in there is $14.54, for some matters. But so there's a lot of room for improvement, but we also have to look at where that takes our budget as we increase training, as we increase dollar per hour, because it also affects, as Dawn was pointing out, our employee benefits. But as long as right now, at the current pay rates that are suggested for applying everybody to this pay scale, we are still 50,000 under our budget line item. But that also is because we reduced the number of positions total in the department. So everybody was able to get into the pay scale at a certain amount, which is increased from what they were making, but it reduced by like 4 positions, I think, total. So he told me that he budgeted in 2 entry-level positions, which at a number 1 entry level, $13.11 an hour. He has 2 of those budgeted in, so that's part of next year's total salary line item, which is $800,000.
What if we would pull the past 3 years of overtime, because that doesn't account for overtime? And the higher wages, at least if we knew how many hours, you can kind of figure out what the average wage is, because if you guys are gonna allow them to work
Well, and we do need to
Overtime.
have that discussion.
50 might not be enough to
Well,
cover
this
that.
paycheck or this payroll is a good example. A lot of people at overtime because we had that one weekend where everybody went out. You know, I think part of the idea of the 4-day work week is that there should be some flexibility there. you know, if we're gonna send everybody out on a Sunday and they've already graded, what do those particular grader operators need to do on Monday then? Or if if it takes them 2 days to get it worked out, Sunday and Monday, is he going to assign them to not come into work on Tuesday? Because it's still a 4-day work week, no matter how you look at it. And if we're going to allow overtime, I mean, but then it probably matters whether it was Saturday or Sunday, right? Because the
Right.
work week starts on Sunday. So that would go toward the following week's overtime, because it's 40
Which
minutes.
they could comp out but I think you would almost have to tell them to do that. But in the summer, you might not want them to do that if they can get out and be working on roads.
Well, it depends on what kind of project we have going on. If we have a project in the northeast corner, but these blade guys in the southwest corner had to come out over the weekend because of a rain, if they're not helping with that project, there's no reason they can't comp out their time that particular week. I mean,
But I think that has to be a direction from you guys to tell them that you would like them to do that. Does that make sense?
absolutely. I think that's part of the 4-day work week. I mean, I wasn't agreeing to the 4-day work week on a basic premise, but if that's gonna be a perk of the job, then they also have to afford the county the financial opportunity to stay within the budget, which means if they get called out on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because those are not their days, then maybe they will stay home a Tuesday or Wednesday.
The following week,
Right, because we paid out $200 a piece in overtime this payroll,
yeah,
because we had a weekend of,
they were grading when it was
Right.
after all the mud storm.
Right.
Yeah.
So would it be helpful to kind of see, we could probably even go back
Please.
5 years?
yeah,
and
then we
do
can
each year
average,
so that you
we can get an average, yeah.
And maybe we talked to Brendan about that, if we don't have to, probably rarely come out weekends, but well, then once in a while we do because of these rains. Well, during midweek, right, if they're not working, if
It's
it's
going
raining,
to be necessary seasonally.
to work weekends, right,
Yeah.
and then if we ask if they do come out weekends, then take off, say, the next Monday or Tuesday, so you don't run up the overtime.
Right,
Ask
and,
them.
and that should be at the discretion of the department head, because,
Yeah,
okay, for example, we had that snow belt. So there were some people that were pushing off 6 to 12 inches of snow that day, but there were other people who had no snow on their route. So either he needs to say, okay, you don't have snow, get over in that area and help them, or you don't really have work today. If there's not a project going on, like you said, they do help the bridge crew because they're doing dirt work. They're hauling.
rock and whatever.
Right, but if that's not going on that particular day, and they have had their Sunday out, which is gonna be overtime for the current week, then it really needs to, we really need to pay attention. The problem is gonna be on Saturdays, if that's the end of the work week. So if you've already put your 40 in by Thursday,
And that's still-
Saturday's definitely gonna be
And
overtime.
Friday too,
Yeah,
because that's overtime.
yeah.
Well, I don't think we would do it, well, you never know what the weather's
But you
gonna
can also
do.
reduce their overall pay, even if you have to pay out the overtime because they're over the 40 on the week. The next week, if they skip it's not gonna equalize the dollar amount that you paid out for overtime, but they could skip a day's work that following week and reduce it by the regular $1 an hour. Are you following me on that?
No, you still have, if you have to give them 40 hours a week,
No, I'm saying,
how do you decide how much a full-time employee gets then?
well, it's called comp time, which we kind of had a blanket policy, no comp time. But if we're gonna do a 4-day work week for a department, you have to allow for comp time. It doesn't make any sense. Otherwise, like Dawn said, we better budget for a max overtime load.
But is he hired at 40 hours a week?
Yes, but it's not, he only gets paid once a month. So
Okay,
it's not like you're altering
So
their
we're
weekly.
talking 173 or 4 hours a month, all right?
Exactly.
If you're doing that, then you can comp that stuff out and make it come out even.
No, you can't. FLSA requires you to pay overtime or enact a comp time policy. But you cannot say you're gonna get 143 hours for the month. You have to have whatever it is for the week.
That's what I'm saying, that's what I started out, you have to have 40 hours of work time a week.
No, it's not a minimum requirement, it's a maximum requirement. So what she's saying is, after you've hit 40, whether it's Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, anytime you work until Saturday at midnight is overtime, wages.
Yeah.
But you can,
the next week, you can't comp for last week's time.
you can when you only have one paycheck a month. And like I said,
No, you can't.
I don't
So,
think
so you can't have, let's say employee A worked 45 hours this week and second week employee A worked 35 hours. You can't do that. You have to have a comp time policy that comps it out at an hour and a half per time, to then you can comp it into another week. and then they're using their comp time, but you're still paying the hour and a half, you're just giving it to them in regular hours. But the law is very specific.
Wait,
that
what's
you
the hour
can't.
and a half? I'm not aware of that.
So if you had an employee that worked 45 hours, you have to comp time, if you do comp time, you have to comp the 5 hours at time and a half. So instead of them now having 5 hours, they have 7.5 hours that they can use in any other week. Then you can do that, and then they can use it the following week. But as of right now, we do not have comp time
What is the purpose
policy.
of that extra hour and a half?
Because it's overtime. You have to pay an employee
No,
for any hours overtime. And
Yeah.
you can choose to comp it, but you have to still comp it at time and a half.
I'm getting confused.
Let me find this, let me find
Yeah.
the regulation, because
Yeah,
I'm
because I
assuming
didn't know
it's
about
not-
that hour and a half thing. I guess what I'm saying is, you only pay them once a month. So anytime they work over their 40 in a work week, it's guaranteed to be time and a half. But
But the
how
next
are we
week you
doing,
still
then
gotta
how
give
are we
him
doing
40
with the
hours.
sheriff? If we're doing overtime one week and under 40 the next week?
They have a 43-hour requirement. There is a special set of
No, but I'm
law.
saying, but some weeks they're only working 32 hours. Or
Yes,
Yeah.
but we only care about whether or not they're average. They're 36, and actually all the law enforcement officers are working 43 hours. So there's a special law that requires them, they don't get overtime for anything up to 43 hours. Anything above that, they get overtime for. Now, the dispatch, they do 48, 36, 48, 36. And where they're coming in at is, as long as they work an average of 40 hours a week, we can we can pay them benefits. But if they drop down to where their average between the 2 weeks are not 40 hours, then they lose their health insurance.
So then how is that any different from what I'm saying, where if you have the highway department and they have to go in their overtime because it's past Thursday, which they put in their 40?
Because we're paying them time and a half. We're not moving that time and a half to another week's pay.
Whereas with the sheriff's department.
Because what I hear you saying is, we're just not gonna pay them that overtime. We're paying them that
No.
overtime.
I'm saying you always have to pay the overtime if it's in a 40-hour week. I know that. I mean, if you're in
Okay,
a...
because that's not what I was hearing you say.
I said by Saturday at midnight, if you have worked over 40 hours, anything over that 40 is time and a half. If you go to work on Sunday...
But then you said we wouldn't pay that.
No,
And we would
I
pay
never said we never pay it. I'm saying the following week, you don't have to put in a full 40. Now, you're never going to make up for the time and a half because you're only going to reduce their hours by their regular wage. Let's say they make $15 an hour. You're only going to reduce if they don't work 5 hours out of their 40-hour week the following week, you're only reducing it by $15 an hour, which you already paid time and a half for the week before. But you're still comping out their regular wage time in the following week, which shows that they're in their month paycheck, is what I'm saying. I never said you don't have to pay them the overtime. I know that. If they get in their 40 by Thursday at 4:30, they go to work on Friday, Saturday, is definitely time and a half. But starting Sunday at 12:01 a.m., that's beginning their 40 hours again. Do you see what I'm saying? If they work on a Sunday, it's not necessarily time and a half because it's a Sunday.
So what would you recommend? So say they come in on a Saturday because it's to blade. So you're saying, okay, now since you bladed Saturday, and that's gonna be overtime, time and a half, it's over for. Then, okay, let's take Monday off and Tuesday off, just so we can have less hours the following week.
Exactly. Reducing their hours for their following
To
week.
keep the whole price down,
That you're not gonna be able to do.
but then you won't have 40 for that next
It's
week.
only gonna happen a
But,
handful of times
but
a
Alexis,
year.
my question is, okay, say we didn't have them come in Monday, say don't come in Monday, so then they'll have 32 hours for that month, or that next week, 32 hours. But don't we have to pay them, what, 40 a week?
The average, if they get in the average of 40, so you wouldn't reduce the following week by any more hours than what they already put in to offset the 40/40.
So you're saying since we pay them
No, I don't
monthly, you don't
think
have to
that's
put in, you don't have to put in 40 every week?
Exactly.
I think you do.
That's the question, I don't know about that.
I
You
think
know
you
about
do.
that, or?
I'll look into it.
Because we pay monthly, obviously. And Alexis, you're saying if we paid, say, Saturday, which we know is overtime, say they put 48 hours in on 1 week, and so say, Alexis say, let's have them work 8 hours less
Exactly.
the next week, 32, so that we all average out back to 160 hours a month.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
think that's right.
Well, I don't know either.
Yeah, I know
don't-
that it's right because we do
I
with the
don't know the
communications
laws.
department. She just explained it. They do 48, 32, 48, 32.
They do
That's-
36.
Or 30.
Okay,
But they got a different set of
36
rules.
hours.
they do,
Okay.
but see, that's the.
No, they don't. It's all federal level, federal
Law
FLSA.
enforcement has separate rules.
That's
Do they?
not, no, but I'm using the communications example, where they don't put in a 40-hour week, but you're saying because it averages for their paycheck that it's 40 hours, that's what I'm talking about. This is not gonna be an ongoing thing in the highway department. They're not gonna
No.
be doing this every
Rarely,
week.
they don't go out
I'm
and
not
work
trying
overtime.
to say that this is the new
Okay.
schedule. I'm just
Right.
saying, you have that snowstorm, we paid out $200 a piece
Mhm.
for the snowstorm.
Mhm.
Well, is that in the budget, is what Dawn's saying.
Yeah.
To make sure it's in the budget, we can be skipping a day of work the following week, is what I'm
You're
that's what
trying
I'm
to,
getting
you're
at.
trying to spread it out.
Well, the hourly rate for the overtime then only becomes the increased halftime, not time and a half.
Right.
Because you're comping their time the following week.
You're just, yeah, you're.
So they're still getting the greater pay for the work that they did,
For
but
what?
you're reducing it from the budget by their hourly rate the following week.
Yeah, I know. I
And
think-
so ultimately, they don't get to collect the total of their overtime hours, but the point is, they're getting a 4-day work week. That's the whole point. I mean, if they wanna go back to a 5-day work week, then we don't have to worry about this.
Yeah, I
Do you
don't
see
know.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't
If
know.
there is a budget restriction to a 4-day work week that we really have to look at.
I'm just wondering.
There are 3 days every week that they're not working.
I'm just wondering if since we pay benefits and all this based on 40-hour work week, I thought. And so if they're only working 38 one week, does
But
that,
it's not gonna happen over and over and
No,
over.
it's
You're
not- it's
I'm
not a
not
continual
special.
thing.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
It's a once in a while thing.
It's gonna happen once or twice a month in the spring.
Yeah,
do you see what I mean?
Well, yeah,
Like-
whenever it rains a lot, and we need them on the weekend, we're
Exactly.
overtime. Yeah, we don't ask them to work overtime that often.
No.
That's what you're saying.
And they're ultimately not gonna get that boost in their paycheck because we're trying to comp out their time at their regular, so they're gonna get paid a little more for those hours that they do put in on the weekend, but we're gonna comp it out in our budget by saying the following week, nobody's gonna put in 40.
What some people are thinking too, say like today, say it's muddy as heck today, and it ain't, well, it did snow, so say, like a grader guy, you know, I mean, they could say, why don't you just take off Tuesday, because you can't grade today, it's muddy as hell out there. Why don't you come in Friday or Saturday? Of course, we don't know Friday, Saturday's gonna be any
But
better.
if you
That's the
know,
problem.
that you're gonna be hauling gravel that day and you need extra manpower and shovels and people on the ground, then you do say, don't do this,
Well,
do
for that
this.
type of job, but say grader, say a grader, you tell the grader guy, don't go out today, it's too muddy.
Mhm.
Well, you could just say, but come out Friday and Saturday, but maybe it's too muddy Friday, Saturday too, then what would you do? You'd be screwed there. You wouldn't have a
That's
40.
all, I mean, we can talk hypothetical circumstances
Yeah,
all
but
day.
that's kind of what we get into. The highway department's always based on weather and the road conditions, whether they can work or not, Alexis. That's always gonna be our issue we got with them.
Which is why we're trying to talk about what we can do for a comp policy.
You know, if you're working in the office here in the, everybody here works 40 hours a week and they know they're going to because the weather doesn't affect them here in the courthouse, but it does out there. That's a big deal, obviously. And I don't know how you would get around all that.
Well,
I'm not
do
against.
you mind just kind of looking into that to see what the specifics are? Because I'm not suggesting we do a continuous rollover like the communications department.
Yeah.
But I do know that you don't have to work 40 hours in a particular given week just because.
just-
What she's saying is if it averages out for your paycheck, which we only pay once a month,
Yeah.
that's to our advantage to be able to have that flexibility.
Yeah, we're paying monthly 160 hours a month, basically. So she's saying if we work 8 more on one weekend, we take off 8 next week, and that it's everything's cool with the government and the labor laws and all this stuff.
And like I said,
I'd like to know that too.
you're not gonna get your whole dollar amount back because you're already paying out time and a half from the prior week.
Mm-hmm.
But you are gonna be able to recuperate whatever their hourly rate is for those hours. It's very important for our budget, otherwise,
Yeah, or
we're not gonna be able to afford it.
well, or we go over, but, you know, last year we were way under our budget on highway department.
That's only because we didn't purchase what they had been purchasing.
And we lost employees, but I know what you're saying.
Okay,
Well,
so
we gotta
back
watch
to the
it.
appraiser, we're currently at 1973. Now with her tenure and knowledge, is she at a maximum cap on that position?
I don't see how you get much higher, she's been there 30 years.
But then if you never give her nothing, then that upset them too.
But what would you pay a starting appraiser at? That's where,
Right.
those are the ones we need, where you
And
wanna
so
start.
Probably 15.
I think 15.
15 probably, because that's a specialized type of job.
Mm-hmm.
Do they
And
have to
that's,
get,
she's already at almost $5 more
to
than
get hired,
that.
to get hired as a
So there's
appraiser,
5 steps right there.
do they have to be certified or something, and take classes? to
They
get-
do have to
They
go
get a
get their,
certification before they can
You
get an
have
appraiser?
licenses and stuff.
Well, I know Truett does, I didn't know if Rhonda does.
Okay, so we're saying department heads starting at 15, subordinates to department heads starting at 12.
Generally, you know, we could probably deviate from that based on the specific situation.
Some department heads are gonna come higher.
Yeah,
EMS, for example, will be higher because he has increased education requirements.
yeah, like paramedics and stuff and bachelor's degrees or whatever.
And we had somebody else, the health department comes higher because they have to be an RN to start with.
Mm-hmm.
That's
We
true.
We had a third one somewhere else.
And when we publish the,
Well, we paid the highway department
Pay
director
scale.
higher because we wanted to get, you know,
yeah, I think
a
when,
degreed person there
when
kind
we
of.
publish the pay scale, we also need to include the dollar per hour increase if they're taking the benefits package. Because that's definitely undersold in this market. You know, if you make
We need to say,
$14 an hour as an equipment operator, but you have a family health insurance plan, you're making $24 an hour. That's not well understood.
Everybody's
What
required
is-
to take the health plan.
what
right?
is the health plan? Well, you're not.
Well,
You
you're
can,
out.
you can opt out, but I believe we have to have a percentage enrolled. Correct on?
How much do we get for health insurance? So I can see, you know,
Single
for like for
person is
single.
$7 an hour.
It's like $7 an hour to $10
And
an
what
hour.
what is it for family? Like
10.
10.
10? So it's like $10 an hour for how much is it? How much?
Give or take. I'm just using a round number there, but
Well, you got
22.
80 hours in a year, so that'd be 20,000.
20,080 just for medical insurance for a family, and for single it's like
$7
15,
an hour.
7 times,
That'd be 14
40,
and
50,
change.
about 15 something.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we need to tell everybody that, because a lot of people complain we don't pay high enough wages.
Well, and the other thing is, federally, we are not permitted to do away with our plan and then use that money to pay $25 an hour, which I would love to do, but that's, I mean, some people love benefits, some people want the paycheck.
So you can turn down the health benefit package.
Yes, but we have to meet a certain quota, and if we
Yeah.
don't, we don't get insured.
Then nobody gets it.
We don't want people to do that.
I mean, it's not that we don't want, I don't wanna say that, but you can't, you know, encourage them to financially do something different.
Yeah. I wonder if we're gonna get into trouble if we publish that health package as a benefit.
That is public information.
And their minimum number of hours per week to qualify for health insurance is 30 hours a week.
30. No, that any financial publications of any kind for the county is all public information. You can't say, you know, Billy has a family plan, but you can say Billy makes X amount of dollars per hour. The county pays for 16 family plans. This is the cost for a family plan. This is the cost if you make $13 an hour plus a family plan, you're making $23.75 an hour. Do you see what I mean?
So
You
you
can-
probably want to footnote that or have a separate section rather than have.
I'm not asking that we publish each
Yeah.
position with its increased amount by the family plan. I'm just saying in a separate column, we need to say, your family plan, if you have a family plan, add $10 an hour.
That's right.
If you have a
Yeah,
single
I agree
insurance
with that,
plan,
yeah.
add $7.50 an hour
Yeah,
to your wage, so that you understand how much. Because on top of that, I think what people aren't understanding is you're paying your employment tax. We're paying employment taxes. We're paying all of the deductions out up front. Do you know what I'm saying? That they're not thinking of that because they're not pocketing. But
And
that's
also-
the cost to the county for each particular
And-
employee.
and
There's a
also-
particular cost.
when you go to get, they do capers, caper gets a match too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're in, you know, that's a good retirement plan if you've been here a while.
Mhm.
But you don't get the capers match.
No, you don't get a match, no?
The employee do not, so
Oh, okay,
be
sorry.
careful when you say that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
The
thought
employee
so.
doesn't pocket it, but it's still the cost for the county to have an employee. So when I was here a couple years ago and we were all saying, oh, the county is the largest employer, that's a really heavy burden. It's not, the county should never be proud to be the largest employer in the area. That really means that your industry and your other areas of employment are really lacking. You know, to have a governmental entity be the largest employer means that your tax dollars are supporting more income for people locally than your private organizations. That's really not healthy for the local economy.
That's what these little towns in western Kansas are doing now.
But it doesn't make it healthy.
Well,
I
probably
mean,
not-
right or
probably
wrong, it doesn't
Probably
matter.
not, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not healthy economics.
Well,
There's,
no, you want the private sector to,
exactly.
yeah, well, that's no doubt.
So when we say it's a government job, it also needs to be understood that you only have to be here a year to get 28 days vacation. I mean, you're not gonna find that.
Anywhere.
Uh-uh.
No, we have pretty good. I thought, well, isn't there a capers, or maybe the state, doesn't the state, if you take so much out of your check a month for capers, do you know?
So
Sarah?
you get
The state matches some portion of that, don't they? Like 401k plans, a lot of companies, like I used to put like 6-8% where I used to work, and my company would match 3/4 on that. So they would take out $8 a month or a week, and they'd put 6 on it for a 401k that goes into an investment deal. I thought capers was similar, but I'm not sure.
My background was in the private sector, so we
Yeah.
didn't have,
I know you don't
none
know.
of our 401k was matched.
Yeah.
I will,
Well, you don't have, it's not that big a deal. I just was
So
wondering
I
on capers.
I only have a very elementary understanding of it, but my understanding is your employee contribution to your capers gets vested,
Mhm,
okay?
mhm.
But the match that the county pays is actually like 1.5% higher than the employee deduction.
Oh.
But that goes to the state,
Mhm.
and it's in a pool,
And then the state pays that out later.
but they don't pay it to the individual.
Oh, they don't?
They pay it goes toward the lifelong benefits
You
payout.
keep the package sustainable is what it keeps it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
But you never actually individually receive that money unless probably you're one of those people that lives to be 85 and you retire at 60 and you end up drawing more than
You
what
draw it out, then you,
Yeah,
kinda like social security, kinda like
because-
social security.
Right,
You put in
right.
about way back when, but that was.
Right,
audited,
but guess who gets to invest all that match money?
Was the state.
Just drives me insane. Okay, so I have,
Where are we
some-
gonna start with health and EMS and highway department, well, hold the highway department. Health and EMS are higher. Right now, they're above 20. Do we wanna start them out at 18 or somewhere?
EMS
As
or
a-
health or what?
Yeah, walking off of the street?
and what we need to do then is make sure we get comparative numbers too, to call our other counties and just see where
The
we
thing
are.
is with the health
We
department,
oughta call somebody like Decatur County. Was there
Something more comparable in
they're a
size.
match to us in population, the number of towns they have, the way they distributed, 2 cross
Decatur?
highways and all that. Decatur, Oberlin's a county seat.
I don't think I've ever met anyone from there.
We went up there and visited one time. The sheriff had a good idea. We were up there asking about that. This is an aside. And he was in his office by himself in the middle of the afternoon. We asked him how many deputies he had, and he told us. We asked him where they were, and he said they're home sleeping. There's nothing to do during the day. They have to work at night. So I thought that was kind of a neat idea.
We've actually had that same comment here, that more happens over
But anyway,
the dark hours.
Let's see what Decatur's doing. I think that'll be a better match than Ellsworth, which is a growing community in
Yeah.
population.
maybe
Yeah.
Ottawa's kinda about like us.
Well, they're growing too because they have the bedroom community from Salina.
Yeah,
They
Minneapolis
also
or-
have a lot of
The
property
Bennington-
taxes
Bennington.
on those underground bunkers.
Yeah.
A lot of
Sure,
money.
Where
that's
I
high
don't
price
know.
real estate. Anyway,
I can't have
but
that
Decatur,
discussion at
I
this
think
table.
we've looked at, seems to be a pretty close match to Lincoln, and I have no idea, other than just visiting up there with them.
Probably like to the northern ones, the north, like Cloud County probably would be like us and maybe.
Jewel is
Jewel,
similar.
Because they're smaller, don't have
Mhm.
much going on. Now Boyd's obviously bigger, Russell's bigger.
Well,
Ellsworth's
Cloud's
bigger.
gonna be bigger too, because they have the community college, they got a big railroad, they got a lot of industry,
Right.
so's Belleville.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe
But
Jewel-
Mankato's kind of about like us and Smith
Yeah,
Center,
they are.
Osborne, Smith Center.
Mankato and Jewel have a city fight like Lincoln and Sylvan, so that'd probably be closer than a lot of them. They're still mad about who got the county seat up there too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have appraiser, and these are just round numbers, nobody get excited about these, but we have appraiser between 15 and 20. So now let's go to landfill and noxious weed. Are those similar in our eyes? Or are we going to make a distinction between
No,
the two?
I think they're what I call minor department heads, and I think they ought to start somewhere around 15, a new guy walking in off the street.
And I
Yeah,
will say, I think the noxious weed has to actually have his license, whereas the landfill doesn't necessarily have to we don't have any education requirements for the landfill, do we, Dawn?
No, but
I think the only thing that they required was that you have a CDL.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And yeah, Dan has to get certified like noxious weeds and I've done that too, a private applicator's license, and then he's probably got I bet he's got a commercial one, probably like Clay Herring and them, because he's doing spraying all over the county.
Yeah.
So Dan probably has a sophisticated, commercial applicator license.
so put him at 16.
Well, I would, that's a major requirement. And
Well-
not everybody can get that license, because it's kind of almost like now it's getting tougher with the law enforcement. I almost think you have background check on that, so you just don't get all this chemical and go out and, spray somewhere.
Well, yeah, but if you can't meet all that and you aren't educable, you wouldn't be a noxious weed guy anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of chemicals.
We have to be careful here because I think we're actually, what we're suggesting where they are, you're
Yeah.
saying is entry
Sorry.
level, and they're already, I mean, that's what they're making now.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I think we need to see what they're doing now.
So hold on, let me see here. Okay, so landfill. We have, and I just put noxious weed under that because they're based out of the same office there. So right now, with the increases, if we do them as we talked, Dan Hanna would be at 1675, Kerry Jackson would be at 1580.
Both of those guys would be that high?
That's,
They've been there a long time, though, or Dan.
they have, but that's what I'm saying, you have to be careful saying that the starting wage would then be 15, because you're basically saying Kerry's at a level 2, 80 cents higher than that. So
I'd say starting wage maybe 14.
well, I think this all goes back to us having a starting wage at 12. Where are we gonna make a distinction? Start at
Well, I
14?
No, but these are specialized
I
jobs.
thought
here.
12
They're
for
not your-
the local hire.
I didn't mean to suggest 12, I'm saying you have to look at the ratio
I'm
here.
saying, yeah, but just 12, a new guy walking off the street to drive a truck or hold a shovel. But your minimum department heads ought to be a couple dollars higher, so we could start them at 14
Mhm.
across the board.
That makes more sense, because that would put Mr. Hanna at about a level 3
Well, see,
out
I
of
think that's,
5, or,
I think that's
and that
where
would
we
put
had
Mr. Jackson at like a 2 or
Yeah.
3, somewhere in there.
the other day we went down these, that's where we ended up. at
So let's
14.
start noxious weed at 50 cents higher, because you have to have credentialing.
Yeah,
So
you gotta have that certified.
So let's put 14.50 on noxious weed, and let's put 14 at landfill. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That justifies the 50 cents higher no matter what you're doing out there, because you
Yeah.
have to have,
Well,
you have to
he-
hold
You carry
a
us
credentialing.
CDL and,
And then we'll put their help starting at 12.
yeah,
Is that okay?
like a James, like a
Mhm.
James.
Yeah, and that means James has been here a little while, and he's already at 13.55,
That's fine.
so. Okay, now
But
we need
like
to
you said,
talk
if you
about
had a
some
new
caps
hire-
out there, though. If we're talking about $14 an hour is the landfill.
And then what would be max,
Noxious weed.
what would be the max out price? About
Well, if we're talking appraiser at 20, I mean, I think we need to be relative here and probably say like 19,
Yeah,
you know?
Well, she's at 1973.
But we talked about capping that at about 20.
Yeah, and we want to start her at 17 or somewhere
You
along
had
there.
a start, we talked about starting at 15. If you had no
15.
education and you came in because
Yeah.
you wanted to be the appraiser, you would have to get your education,
15.
which I think you could do in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the statute says how much time you have, but
I'd start at 15, then we could step.
you would jump up immediately
That's
as
right.
soon as you got your education.
certified, yeah.
Yeah, health is gonna be a little different, cause she has to be an RN. And she would ought to probably start at 17 or 18, I would think.
Yeah,
Then I think what we need to do is look at capping the landfill at about 17 or 18.
Yeah,
yeah,
And then the same thing with noxious weed plus
Yeah.
50 cents.
yeah, so, but that would depend on what, yeah, we
That-
have to
that
cap it,
gives
then
you-
we build in the
Mhm.
intermediate steps.
Mhm.
What do you think of health? I don't know what an RN,
oh, well, they start out big, they're a big demand, but I'd say,
I think we need to cap the help at the landfill at about 15.
on the health
That's a
department.
top tier, someone who could come in and fill in for them to do anything they do, which right now,
Where, how
the
much,
person working for them only makes 13.50.
how much
15,
for,
which would be, that's still $1 or 50 cents higher than the entry level for the supervisor position, but you figure if you were there long enough, you would know as much as they do when they
the
first
helper
start,
at the
so.
landfill, yeah,
Yeah, does that make sense? 12 to 15 for the
Yeah.
help,
yeah,
and 14 to 17.50, somewhere in there.
for the department head. I'd almost go a little higher maybe, yeah, cause,
18.50? Yeah,
Yeah.
just plug in 18 and 18.50.
And like you was talking RN at the health department, Jim, I think the starting wage there would almost be 17 to 18 because most of the people come out of college now get an RN, or not even college, but get a nursing degree, they can start 20 bucks an hour about anywhere, you know?
I know,
But I know we
but
can't
you're not
afford
working
that.
12-hour shifts.
Right.
You're not running up and down the hospital hallways and steps. I mean, there
You're
are
not working
some.
night shifts and stuff.
Exactly, and you make your own schedule.
Weekend.
Yeah, you get to travel, you get, I mean,
Right.
there is a little bit of
We got better.
your compensation program with your benefits.
But I would say, what would you say for starting?
Every holiday,
Or,
well, let's
direct
see,
17?
let me look at where we are here. I sent, health department.
You should probably get a raise, huh?
Oh, I don't have it on it in there, okay.
I don't,
We already had a suggestion on a
here's the
raise.
base sheet.
What's the dollar
What are you
getting
making
now?
What she's making now?
She's at 3790.33. So can you tell me what the
30.
extra, whatever we did, 1080, was it 1080 on top of that for the year?
I'm confused, what's 1080?
1040, I mean. It was an extra 1,040, right, on top of that. When
Oh,
we
for 50
completed the 50
cents.
cents for the year last year, she should be making, what is that divided by 12? Another 86.66 a month? Is that right?
We normally round those up to, $88 because of the cents.
Tell me where we are with her. It's about I have 38.78 somewhere in there.
Hang on, just one second.
A month, 38.78?
At her current, that does not include what we just did on the evaluation.
Her current salary is 38.78.33, and
20,
that's
that's
where
24.
that odd cents comes in.
23 a month, or an hour.
Hourly wage is,
Right now?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
her hourly wage is $22.37 an hour.
I got this 24.23 here, an hour. You had 38.78,
33,
how much?
38.78.33
Okay, so, and I just divided that,
times 12
You have to divide
divided
it by
by
2080.
2080
oh, I
is
just.
22.37.
It's
30.
46,536
Okay,
divided by that many hours in the year.
46,536.
She's at 22.37.
Okay, I just took
I think we can
I
max
took
that
the
out at
monthly
about
pay divided
25.
by 160.
I'd start at
for that.
18, go to
But you can't do
25.
it that way,
Okay.
can you?
Did you catch that?
No.
Mhm.
Cause there's
Well,
52
that's-
weeks in a year.
To be consistent, we do
Good.
times it by 12 divided
I
by 52.
did, yeah.
Cause that
38.
number's gonna I think that
Yeah.
number's gonna increase.
And I think
So-
she's the only RN over there.
Well, I think Lisa White's an RN, but she's only
She's
part-time.
part-time.
Yeah,
But what is her
so
rate?
the rest of the folks over there, I'd probably start at,
She's within range, Lisa is,
Let me
for the
see.
RN scale.
I think like Sherry Pickering, like an LPN, right?
Lisa is at 22.25. And if you remember a little, I said she paid her more because she was part-time. I
Well,
don't
she
know
is an
that.
RN. I mean, I would say with our scale, she's definitely within our range at 22.25. The suggestion is to go up to 22.75, just so you know.
so RN generally is gonna start at 18 in our
Mhm.
scheme of things.
Mhm. How long has Lisa been a part of that
Oh,
department?
hang on. I just got out of her.
Just to, I mean, I do think we need to contemplate longevity here.
2007.
Yeah.
Oh,
So she's not maxed
13,
out
right.
on our dollar per hour cap on our RN, which we're gonna put at 25 for
The
now.
other folks over there are, what, PAs or,
well, LPN is Pickering, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Licensed practical nurse, which, and she's making pretty good up there, but she's been there a long time, I think.
so what do you think, we could start
She
them
is-
at 16?
Okay, Pickering is currently at 18, or no,
1855.
55, yeah.
So start them at 16 and go to 22 or something like that.
Yeah, LPN. Now, like Sherry Salter's no nurse or nothing, is she?
If she goes to 22, do you really need to do something more with Ladonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna say an LPN,
22.73.
she's at, Pickering would be going up to about 19. I'd say we need to cap that at about 21.
That's
That's $4 less.
16 to 21?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on Is
That's
that
all right.
wage particularly higher because she's the only one that holds a credentialing down there? Is
But-
Salter and Coates not credentialed, like they're not an LPN?
I think Judy Coates is.
No,
some
they
type-
were CNAs when they were originally hired.
Mhm. That's what I was getting at. I mean, the difference in wage there needs to be justified. I mean, which I see that would be what it is, so
Is
she's
Judy Coates has
suggesting,
got some nursing degree, right?
No, she's
Oh.
a CNA. She
Certified,
may be a CMA, but we don't utilize either
oh,
of those.
CNA, certified nurse's aide, and Jerry Pickering, Sherry Salters, I don't know.
I think she's a CNA.
Oh, okay,
So
'Cause
CNA's
they
gonna
were
be
both
15
hired
to
when we
20?
were doing home health care,
yeah.
so they were CNAs.
I mean, this is not to be cold, but I think everyone needs to understand the point of a pay scale is so that someone looks at this and says, okay, if I want this job, I know that I'm gonna start here and I can get to here. Maybe it takes me 4 years, maybe it takes me 5 years. I want the job because it has benefits. I want the job because I live here. I want the job. It's not,
Consistent, nice hours.
right, you get all your holidays, you're never working weekends unless there's some kind of amazing emergency. I mean, the idea is it has its own appeal as a job and it's within these particular parameters. Unfortunately, when we have these tenured employees, we look at it as, well, they've been here 15 years and they're only making $16. Unfortunately, there's a value to each position that the county cannot afford to overextend itself just because of, right. I mean, at some point, it's wonderful to have employees who are loyal to the quote-unquote company, but we're also spending taxpayers' dollars to get a certain job done. And if that job is done efficiently, then you have to look at, if you wanted to run this department for the next 10 years and you said, hey, these people need to be making up $20 an hour, then you might need to look at reducing a position and using that same money to be divided.
So the
Which they've
CNA's,
done, right? That when they lost home health, they reduced a position.
we gonna
correct?
run them 15 to 20?
We are witnessing a
I think it's a little lower than that. When you get hired as a CNA at like a nursing home starting out, you're making like $12 an hour.
Yeah, like the
I
nursing
think the
home.
important thing to know is they're not really performing the
Nurse.
services of a CNA anymore.
Right. They're not doing nursing aid work per se like you would do if you got hired because you just got,
But you wanna start them somewhere above our $12 starting out for a janitor.
yeah.
So you wanna start them where, 14?
But
pick a
I
number.
just want to say that comparably, if I was just fresh out of school with my CNA and there was a job open at the nursing home and there was a job open at the health department, you're looking at $10 to $12 an hour with no benefits at the nursing home, and now you're talking about $14 an hour and full benefits package at the health
Well,
department.
yeah, but you could grab a broom and work here for 12, so why would you
I
be a
didn't agree with
CNA
that.
anyway?
I didn't agree with that. I thought running a broom is worth minimum wage, but that's me.
I think you have to look at the position and what they're doing now, and what I'm trying to say is, I don't know this for sure, and I may be stepping on my boundaries, but I don't think they're performing CNA work. I
No,
think
it's
they're performing
clerical. It's
work.
clerical. It is.
So, when you're looking at it, you should be looking at a wage for clerical.
Mhm.
Now, they may be doing, I know, like Judy Coates does the, new mother healthy start program and things like that, but
Which
and
I
I
think,
know Sherry's doing the, ambulance billing and I think they all participate in a way. I just don't know really what all they do, and so, but I'm almost thinking they're more clerical than what they were originally hired for, which
well,
was CNA.
and that's exactly why the department head needs to have a pay scale for us, and then we can analyze it according to what we're having this discussion now. But it ultimately comes down to, hey, I really want to bump this person up $1 because they're doing this. The ambulance billing, let's just use that as an example, which that's not even based in reality, but hey, this person stepped up, is performing all these extra functions, it's subsidizing our budget, it's way worth $1 an hour. Then we make that decision, or whoever the board is at the time. Otherwise, if you were just gonna hire someone to fill in for someone else and get trained, I don't think we're looking at $14 an hour. I mean, that's me personally, but.
So, can I just ask a random thought question? What happens if somebody says, I'm no longer going to do something that wasn't their job duty? So let's use the ambulance for example. What if LaDonna would come in and say, you've given a person a raise based upon the fact that they're taking on that duty, then all of a sudden, 5 years down the road, 3 board members later, she decides she doesn't wanna do that anymore.
Mhm.
Do they lose the $1?
Well,
Do they keep the dollar?
unfortunately, that ultimately comes down to a board decision, which if there's not someone like you to explain, which is why you get asked a lot of questions in the meetings, how did it come about to be this way? But that's also why the pay scale needs to be established. If you see that someone's making more than the pay scale, that department head should know why. You know, if I say that your only qualification education-wise is CNA, which you're saying doesn't even necessarily have to be a qualification at this point. Because if Mrs. Coates walked
Or at
out the
least they
door,
don't think so.
I'm just thinking hypothetically, if Mrs. Coates walked out the door with her CNA degree, but they really only need someone to fill in her job, which is not doing any medical care, hypothetically, I'm not saying she doesn't, then can you hire that job in for $12.50 an hour when she was making significantly more than that, but it was because of her tenure, because she had that extra accreditation. But really, now we're saying, well, you can either work in the clerk's office or you can work down there, depending on what your interest is. Because you don't have to actually administer shots or take people's blood pressure, because there are also LPNs and RNs there. Do you see what I'm saying?
And they may be doing that. I just wonder if she should have a
Well, we
clerk
asked every
secretary
department
on
head.
and a CNA,
Yeah.
because what if you guys would decide to add back services too?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's already done, but it was just a random thought.
Let's just stick
I'm
to
gonna
our
take a little
job.
break.
Sure, let's
Go
stick
ahead,
to our
get your-
job of department heads and let LaDonna tell us.
Well,
Alright.
I've reached out to the department heads already to schedule a time with me, what works in their schedule to meet. And this was kind of one of the things that would be discussed to kind of help them get this completed as well. So if you know, there's some suggestion of numbers that you would like to see a range at, I can kind of take that to them.
Is there a statutory, you might not know this, is there a statutory obligation to be an RN as the health department director? I think there might be.
She's,
Or to have at least an RN on staff, maybe.
I think you have to have an RN on staff.
I
know
think
you
we
do
need
for
to
some of
bump
the
up this
shots,
RN.
Some of the shots have to be RN.
And we call it
I think
health
we need to
nurse
go from
slash
like 19
administrator.
to 27.
So I think the health nurse does have to be an RN at minimum, to be the health nurse, but let me look.
That's what to be the actual, state appointed position, I think that is.
Are you saying the 19 to 27 for your director?
I'm gonna suggest we bump that up.
We had 18.25 for the director,
Yeah, I think that does need to be.
starting at 18, max out at 25. And she's getting 22.37 now, so she's somewhere in the middle with her 25 years of experience and all the other stuff she does.
Which I feel is a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the reason why her wage is low is because she's been there a long time. Low relative to the other hiring opportunities that exist. But again, there are the benefits of the job, which are no weekends, holidays, etc.
What shall we
Let's
do?
do 19 to 26 instead of 18 to 25.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, let's do that.
She's gonna do some adjustments anyway, I hope.
What is the website you gave us, Sarah?
You can type in 2019 Kansas wage survey to pull up the.
Just out of curiosity. I'm
But
gonna
if we
pull it up.
pay for the Kansas wage survey, we'll be the highest paid employee in the state too.
Okay,
Well, it breaks it down to percentage, and you can separate it by areas.
okay, we need.
So we wouldn't necessarily, the statewide obviously will pull the Kansas City, Leavenworth area.
The
so we-
DOL.kansas.gov, does that sound familiar? Department of Labor?
Yes.
Okay. so
EMS,
let-
what are we gonna do with them?
Yeah, I think, where did we say we are currently?
2021.
2021?
What all positions
That was
you,
with the 50 cent, yeah, that was with his current 50 cent raise.
But
That's the numbers.
EMS
from
higher end
last
person or?
EMS director.
Oh, the
Let's
director.
let each department head sort out their own pay scale, and we'll kinda discuss it if we
Director.
don't agree, but otherwise, we need to really focus in on the department heads, 'cause that's our job.
Department head, well, depends on what your qualifications are. If you have a paramedic, that's better than if you're just an EMTA.
I think at this point, we need to qualify that a paramedic has to run the department, because they have to have more knowledge as a superior in the
Mhm.
field. If they're gonna be running shifts with these people, telling them how to perform their duties, scheduling their education, unless we change it to an office job
They get
where
it.
they don't necessarily take all the shifts like that, and I'm not opposed to that, but if they're gonna be doing shifts, I really think they need to be a paramedic.
Well,
I do.
like Derek is now.
Well, that's kind of
And he
why we
does
made
training.
that
He's doing a
decision,
lot of classes now too.
part of it anyway,
Starting to do classes.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, if you don't know, I mean, if he'd be gone, then if you hire somebody else, they could just be an office person maybe, but with no, you
But
know.
let's just pre-qualify as a paramedic, which we know our starting wage is 15 for that, we established that, correct?
Yep.
So,
Going
it's
to
gonna be
20?
higher than
Well, it should
15
be higher
because
than
they're, so I think you have to jump to at least 17.
Well, yeah, they're hard, that's a qualified.
But remember, we're gonna pay out 8 hours of overtime every week to this
They should
person
get-
at
they-
time and a half.
If they're doing the shift.
They're more qualified than an RN.
Yeah.
Paramedics can give shots, out on the road. Paramedics, they can too, they give you a shot and,
RN's
RN
more
ain't-
qualified than a paramedic.
no, they're not.
Oh, yeah.
It's all
Paramedics,
circumstantial, it's all circumstantial.
paramedics will give you a shot.
If I was dying this minute, I would want a paramedic.
An
Paramedics-
EMT can give a shot of certain kinds, an AEMT can give shots
Well,
of certain
paramedics are
kinds.
a lot higher up. They can give morphine out on the highway, EMT can't.
But we're also talking about department
We're
head
starting at
duties which
15, how high
require,
you wanna go with a paramedic?
say again?
Starting at, the
But
boss
no,
at
this is for the
15.
department head, so it's gotta be higher than 15.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we start at 15, now we're up where we're starting.
I think we
At
need to be
18
up
to
at
25.
17 or 18, huh?
The 18 to 25.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
18 to 25?
Which, right now, the way it stands, we have someone in a position who is definitely a very qualified paramedic, but new in management, so we actually have them at a tier above the starting level that we're setting, so we need to make sure we're justifying that.
That's our first cut to that then, right?
So we're an appraiser, 15 to 20, EMS director, 18 to 25, health department, 19 to 26. What's next? Oh, landfill, we had 14 to 18, noxious weed, we had 1450 to 1850.
Highway department director,
Yeah, good. Director for the highway.
and we paid high up to begin with here.
Well, we looked at it by an annual salary last time, so let's break it down to monthly. Right now we're at 5,000 a month.
It's 2308 hourly.
2308,
That's the number from Monday.
thank you.
50
That's
hours.
the current, like,
That's
as
what
of
we
last.
discussed Monday, yeah.
Okay, so 23. I think we're well within range right there.
I do too.
It's not necessarily a
So how
cap.
high you gonna go?
Well, we have an RN capable of making $26 an hour. This person should be somewhat college educated, but also has the most massive budget and the most employees. So there's definitely justification there for a larger number than what our smaller department has.
What should we say a starting wage would be though?
Well,
Maybe,
your
20.
starting wage is 23, because that, you just hired him at 23, so that'd be your starting wage.
yeah, but we could lower that for the next guy. I don't know, maybe you can't since we're paying this to begin with. Maybe we set a precedent here.
Well, no, okay, go back to what we advertised. We advertised 55 to 65?
55 to 65.
So we came in at 60.
Okay,
So
so
what's
what's
the
55, so you want 20 then?
Yeah, 20. Let's do 20.
Max out about 65.
I mean, if you're being efficient and we're reducing our whole management team by a half a person or whatever it ends up being, that's quite a bit in wages
Well-
and benefits that you're saving by having
What's,
someone
again,
more strict.
it's hard to do this because
We're only 6 months into a change. I get it.
well, and also we're a county, we're a government entity here. Private sector, like Dawn will tell you, her son will make a lot more than twice as much as that. And he's-
Exactly.
Cause he's in a
Without
construction,
same
yeah,
amount
he's
of
a manager in the
responsibilities,
construction
right.
field. So, but we can't afford to do that, pay that. So where do we go, you know?
well, we're
But
within.
he also doesn't get paid if they don't have work,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Well,
Do they
that's private sector for you. I mean,
Do they get
government is guaranteed.
They get benefits, do they get health insurance?
He does when he's working,
Yeah.
if he
So you
wants
wanna go to 27, which is $1 more than the health department on the high and low end?
But see, I can't justify that because even though you have to be an RN, you only have 3 employees plus a half-time person. This person has 20 people.
Well,
That they're
yeah, I'm
responsible
saying,
for.
but you're starting the health department at 19, we're starting this at 20.
Oh, I see what you're
So
saying.
you wanna run it to
Skip.
27, just so you're higher than the health department?
Yeah, definitely.
And it has a $2.4 million budget.
Exactly.
I mean,
It's
there's a lot
much
of,
more responsibility
there's a lot of
on the
responsibility.
grand
I know
scale
some
of things.
people, because what we used to pay,
It's no less hours necessarily in the week that they're responsible for, but it's the level at which you have to actually be juggling the numbers, the people, there's a lot more that goes into a 40-hour work week with 20 people than there is with 4 people. 3.5.
yeah,
But getting your RN degree is no small task, but
no.
neither is your bachelor's on some level, so
So 20 to 27 though? Okay. So we got, then you're gonna have to, on other things, emergency management, you wanna talk about that or leave that alone?
well, right now we have a budget for 20 hours a week at $16 an hour. Right? I think $14 an hour. Where were we? 2802 monthly was the wage. 2802 times 12. 16 an hour. So right now we have a budget for $16 an hour at 20 hours a week. That's what we.
Are we gonna, maybe, I know we need to talk about emergency manager, but
Let's.
sometime we need to decide if we're gonna go, like Jim was thinking maybe full-time, and you're thinking part-time, and I don't know what the heck.
We have Mr. Haber
Yep.
coming.
He's
Is he still
gonna
coming on the
cut.
9th?
He didn't say, we,
As of right now, he's only.
He's still on for the 9th? Okay.
Well,
We're
we
gonna
can
get some
discuss it then.
ideas. We're gonna
Yeah.
get some ideas.
No, but we need to, get moving on that, because,
Yes. Well,
Jim, I know you've been getting involved in, you're an emergency manager right now, right?
temporarily.
Temporarily, but, I guess we gotta have, if we did have, like this coronavirus hit here, what would we do? I guess, I don't know.
well,
Are
that's where you have delegated responsibilities. I mean, if it's something health related, your health department actually takes the lead, and we talked about this. The emergency manager is a liaison, part of the chain of command,
Right.
orders additional supplies, connects to other governmental agencies from state and federal levels or
Right,
other counties.
Right, but right now, we don't have anyone to do that.
Well, we
Jim-
appointed him so that we can get the grant
Right,
stuff done. But there's a paperwork side to it, there's an education side to it, and there's a communication side to it. I'm not so sure that we might not get some ideas from Mr. Haber on how to kind of displace some of those duties. You
Well,
see what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, as long as we have somebody who could do the job, if we had a catastrophe type situation. I'm with you on money, I like to keep it as less money as we can, if we get somebody certified, make us qualified, that's fine with me, but I don't wanna get in a situation where we would have a coronavirus issue come up, and all of a sudden, we don't have an emergency manager in place when we should have, and getting some problem from it, that's all I care about too.
Well, there's nothing I would desire more than to say, okay, in the health department, we're paying out what, almost $23 an hour for the health department head? If you want that $3 an hour and jump to your cap today, you take on the emergency management role, which you've already done the paperwork for. I mean, there's nothing more that I would desire than to see some of that come to fruition. We can afford that $3 an hour easily out of the 16 we're already budgeting,
Mhm.
and that person can maximize their.
But she doesn't wanna do it.
No, and that's what we're gonna be dealing with. We're gonna be dealing with people that have a set expectation for their maximum capacity, and some people are capable of more than others. But let's not discourage people who actually have the wherewithal to want to take on additional responsibility.
Yeah, I agree.
So, okay, HR, we are at 17 entry. And that comes with a required, amount of experience. I don't think we had, I think in the job description, we had alluded to a suggested education level, but it's not, it wasn't.
Or experience. experience counts as education.
But I'm saying at $17 an hour, that's not gonna be a high school graduate looking to get into the HR field. That's gonna be someone who has a little bit of experience.
Experienced person, and,
And so where are we going with that? I think that person has a lot of responsibility because they're communicating with all of the employees, which is even more than the largest department head. So I think that has to be taken into consideration. But it also has a budget that we set and then kind of circumvented by hiring a benefits management company, which, are we paying anything out of the HR budget toward that?
No, I moved that benefits management company back into the employee benefits fund, because that's where you were reducing the price at to help
I know, which
compensate.
concerns me a little bit because when we originally created the HR budget, we were thinking that that person was going to manage the benefits, kind of in the way that Dawn's office had done through the state plan. But there's a lot more to it intricately when you're not in the state plan, because the state plan kind of just wrapped everything into like one kind of package, right?
You have to remember, she is going to be managing the employee benefits. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She will be managing the employee benefits. So what we're paying for currently, what we thought we were paying for, is not that.
So I'd like to talk about semantics here. What's PIC stand for? Professional Insurance Consultants. Okay, so the consultant word, I believe that Dawn and I were on the same page. We thought we were paying for a consultant to the county. And what's been explained to me is that word consultant, for this particular firm anyway, it means that they are a consultant for the individual employee. So our county is now paying to have a third party available for the employee. So the employee doesn't call you and say, I talked to Blue Cross and blah, blah, blah. They actually call PIC and say, I talked to Blue Cross and blah, blah, blah. Which I found to be interesting, because one of the things they told me when we had that open house is that they always tell the employee, well, call your provider first. And, which is, I mean, they have their reasons. But I think what we thought we were getting was a consultant for ourselves, like a broker and someone to do the finite things, like run the portal. Yeah.
well,
Maybe we're not quite.
and we was brought up this last week, we can be fine with me if we're not happy with it, maybe we could look at Hub. And, because, are we sure Hub would be better though?
No. And I think
Or anybody
it
else.
was more of a long-term decision. We were if the board and the county keeps moving in this direction, we were talking about maybe self-funding someday. We could be a self-insured group, if that's feasible for us. You know, there is gonna be a turnover. We're losing baby boomers to retirement. We're gonna be getting younger, hopefully healthier people, not healthier than we have, just in general, like you want a healthy group of workers.
So like with this PIC now, we're kind of,
Actually, they're not getting healthy.
Well, don't even
And
get me started.
actually, the death rate has decreased in the last 5 years.
Lower, you mean, or lower?
77 to 76, and it's expected to continue
Yeah.
because, and again, this is generality, the lifestyle choices of that generation are quite poor.
Mhm.
And so you can't really say that they're going to be healthier.
No, but statistics still say that group of 50 and over are heavier users of prescription, heavier users of doctor's visits, all of that. So statistically, when we lose the baby boomers, we are somewhat likely to reap the benefits of that as we hire in younger. I mean, like you said, a generality. But I think the decision with PIC was a long-term, trying to have some foresight, saying, hey, eventually they can help us get self-funded. They can gather some of this information. And what we found out through this brokering process is that we really don't even have options. Kansas only has 3 providers. So what kind of if you're a broker, you just, this is my 3-ring circus, and it doesn't get any bigger than that.
yeah. And if like we were talking, if we're unhappy with PIC here, maybe we could look for somebody new. Of course, we're obligated for this year, at least 1 year here, right, to have them.
You're
Right.
at 17 now, right? And how
It was
high do you
supposed to be
wanna
signed
go?
like a 2-year,
Well,
18, 18, 50?
Alexis, we signed a
You're
2.
supposed to say, as HR, I recommend that not be one of your taxes.
We signed a 2-year deal with
No,
them.
it's one.
One, oh, I
It's
thought
one.
maybe, that was 2, but she said we'd probably
Yeah,
get out
no,
of that, remember, I thought that wrong.
we're
I
generally
think it's only
doing
one.
$5 or $6,
Well,
so you
if we
can
didn't
have 23 or
it,
somewhere
you
like
know,
that.
I'm not saying I'm.
But the
above
thing
it
that
either.
I think.
we need to know is,
And if we're
what's the
paying,
difference?
what are we paying, 1,200?
To go to step 2, do you have to have an
Yeah, fair
MBA
enough.
from Johns
Fair enough,
Hopkins,
of
or, you know?
I mean, that's half of someone's.
But we need
I
some
know.
very
Well, if everybody
definitive
knows something.
gradation so
But
that we can
When
justify
we start
The
over
whatever we
point
get.
is though,
what we did last
we
year, we
actually
went through all
hired
that.
them
It's
to
gonna
be
be
there for our
very
employees.
difficult for some of these
That's the
people, it's gonna be
Well,
easier in your
Well, they
case,
are, employee can't call them.
since you're in charge of
That's-
it anyway.
That's what they're doing.
Right.
But I think we was one
We
thing
need to
help.
be able to
We thought
justify
they were
whatever
gonna do
salary
our
you're gonna have and how,
clerical
whenever you
work.
want an increase.
Like
you
if you
gotta
get a new hire, they would
She
do,
still has to collect all
right,
that
where
information,
we
put
thought
it in.
they would do that.
We
Well, if we
recognize
could
that you probably have
get
the
someone else, I like
most
it.
vulnerable
You know,
position
if we're
in
not
all of
happy,
this county.
And
There are
since
more
last
things that
weekend,
can go
we
wrong and
were
make us
about-
pecuniarily liable than anywhere
just,
else except the sheriff's
We
office.
just got them, but
Right?
they're not good.
No, you're being fair because
When you
it's
screw up
supposed to,
HR, you screw up
the
big time.
investment is supposed to have a return on
So
itself
I
several
think
years from now. It's
Your
not an
salary
immediate
ought to
return
reflect
on your
that kind of
investment.
responsibility.
We
You're,
don't
you're
like it.
coaxing your
Sensitive
employees.
information.
We're trying to get more people to take a high deductible plan.
Mhm.
We're trying to get people
That's
to have a
1/3 of the
healthier
commission
lifestyle
anyway.
just to
Lower
have less
premium,
you.
lower expense, bottom line,
Exactly.
lower expense for
Everybody has
all
to
of us.
lower their expenses in general.
Would
What
you
else
think
we got to do?
should Look at something like Hub somewhere?
No, not at this time. I think we need to let this all settle with her, get used to our new plan, see where the complaints come in. So far, the only thing I've heard is highway department is having some particular issues. I really haven't gotten negative feedback on the changes that we made in the health plan from anywhere else. Did anybody?
No, I never.
And that'll be part of what I wanted to schedule with department heads, to actually go to them and meet,
Yeah.
get any concerns that they may have as well.
Mm-hmm.
So where we at, Jim? You were at EMS?
Well, I think we've got her down at 1723.
Okay.
But we were,
I'm on,
Now,
in 6
I'm
months,
listening.
we
again, I point out that her position is a peculiar position in that it is the most vulnerable position in the county as far as our getting into trouble. Nowhere can you get into more legal trouble than HR.
oh, I thought you were gonna say because you work at the whim of the commission, which is like
That too,
the
but-
wind. No, that I agree, and there's room for growth here because we're establishing this position. We kind of negotiated with you a dollar amount so that you can actually bring that out of Dawn's office and be independent. And that's gonna jump you up $1. I think as you learn more about how we're doing our benefits and what our plan is, and you're gonna be the sole source of pushing that in any particular direction. Because ultimately, I mean, this commission or a next commission can make changes, but if you don't provide them the knowledge to know where we've come from and where we were potentially going, then they won't make educated decisions, so. Yeah, I agree with that, because longevity's gonna count there too, you know, for, working out all the kinks and establishing new policies. There's a lot of turnover right now with just ideas and changes. Okay, where else are
Well, we
we?
got-
So next week, Monday we meet, and I've got senior center down. Are they coming in Monday to visit with us? Why would I write senior center down?
Yes.
It's
the services for the elderly,
Okay.
Council on the Aging.
hearing, I know what you wanna call it, but
And
Oh.
Wednesday, I gotta go to Karen, Human Resources class on Friday. And the
What class is
9th,
that?
we're having Mr. Haber call.
that prior one, you know.
Okay, we need to do recycling, the recycling position. I'm gonna say starting at 12. That's our starting wage there for entry level. Right?
Yep.
I'm gonna say. What did we put? We put 15. I'm gonna put 15 on that, cause that's what we capped the help for at the landfill.
All right.
So, are you doing away with benefits for part-time people? Because remember we had the discussion of part-timers versus benefits versus
Okay, so if they put in more than 30 hours, we have to offer them a healthcare plan, correct?
Does it need to come out for you as you'd rather pay more for your part-time people? How does that factor in? And I'm not talking
but
about my husband, cause he could care less what he gets made, I'm just, it's,
No,
while
okay.
I'm thinking about it.
But I think what we were discussing wasn't healthcare, it was the earning time off, right?
Yes,
Okay.
leave time and holiday, cause I think you guys struck both of that for part-time people.
Well, my thing was, no
Curious.
part-time person ever works a holiday, so why would they get paid for the holiday? We're not even open on a holiday.
But some of them do work holidays.
Who?
Your dispatchers work holidays, your part-time EMT staff work holidays.
But why would they get holiday pay? Because then if they're working, they're getting their pay. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you get holiday pay and regular pay if you just happen to be scheduled on the holiday and you're only part-time? I'm still confused about
Because it was a way of rewarding them,
to get them to volunteer for the holiday shift.
kind of, sort of. Basically, most of the people that are working the holidays are not your full-time staff, they're all your part-time staff.
Your full-time one
And your
off.
full-time are getting paid, and your part-time are working over there for their hourly wage and nothing more.
Then they need to offer double time to full-time people to get them to cover their own holidays.
We've never done that before.
A lot of them won't wanna do that, work Christmas or something.
We've never paid that way. If they work holidays, they get double time. We've just never done that. Not that we
Well, if they-
say you can't, but
If they work, they get their regular hours plus the holiday
No, they're not working on.
pay. If they do, they get their regular hours if they're actually working that holiday plus the holiday pay.
So it is double time. So they
for
do
the
get paid.
full-time
For
people.
the full-time employees.
Yeah.
But nothing for the part-timers, and it's the part-timers that are working. Most generally, it's the part-timers that are working.
How did you do something like that?
Well, then we should give double time to the part-time people if they take the shift, because then that's gonna be cheaper than paying double time to the full-time person, for sure.
Did you have part-time people like at Towers on holidays?
No.
We didn't have that deal.
The only part-time employee we had was the housekeeper,
Okay.
and a lot less holidays.
So you're saying routinely in the EMS shed, they're scheduling their main shifts around the holiday and letting the part-time person take that particular 24-hour shift?
I don't wanna necessarily say that
Just
because.
in general,
But yes, it could happen. It
And
just
possibly-
depends for them on how their shift lands.
And possibly dispatch.
But dispatch is definitely doing that, if they can.
well then I would
From my
say,
experience of doing payroll, predominantly
The part-time.
it's the part-timers that are working the holidays. And I will tell you, probably about 10 years ago, it was a part-timer that said, why do I work every single holiday when I get absolutely no benefit with the pay that I'm working?
well then they need to make, so when you say they get holiday pay, what are you saying? They just get every holiday paid?
They get 4 hours if they work that month. So if they didn't even work that month, they don't get paid it. But if they work the month, they get 4 hours, so they get half of what other people would get.
I would rather see it that if you're scheduled on the holiday, you get double time. So if you're hired in at $13.50, like some of our part-timers, and you're gonna work that holiday shift because the whole department has it scheduled around you, then you get your double time pay. That's incentive to be my pay, which is still cheaper for the department because they're not paying their full-time person who makes more per hour their holiday pay, like you said, and their pay to be
So an
there.
incentive for the part-time employees if they work the holiday,
They get
that they get double time pay for the hours.
They get that
they're
holiday too. They get holiday pay and the pay they earn on that day. So it's pretty much double time.
So would it be the holiday pay of the department? So sheriff's department is at 12 hours, they work their shift plus they get the 12 hours of holiday pay?
Mm-hmm.
But that was the other discussion that we had, kicking it back to where everybody was 8 hours holiday and that's it. So then that way you have every department making the same amount of holiday.
Are we doing, I know we
We
did that
did
to the
that.
highway
We
department.
did that to the,
But we
Well,
didn't,
they're 10-hour shifts
You haven't done, but you said in the handbook that you were.
yeah,
in the draft.
yeah.
So then that way you're not paying 120 hours out on top of everybody's wage and 80 here. Everybody's getting the exact same.
But
80
are we
hours.
talking about including the sheriff's department and EMS? Because they So they're getting 8 hours of their holiday pay on their shift, whatever their shift is, the 8 of it is the,
Yeah, they only get, we had in the handbook only 8 hours
Mhm.
for everybody.
That would have to be added in to the part-timers,
So then the part-time would be double time for 8 hours, and then if there's a 12-hour shift, they gotta take that 4 hours of the shift on their regular pay. That sounds fair, then, if we're doing that to everybody.
How do you handle like on Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving Day is Thursday, that's holiday, but do we count Friday holiday too?
That's called a
Yes.
holiday in our handbook.
Because,
We have 10 holidays.
Because it's a 4-day deal there, obviously.
because apparently, a very, very long time ago, if you want the history, the handbook was actually prepared by the employees and some of the supervisors and one commissioner representative. And they gave up in one of those handbooks, the Columbus Day holiday to have
To
the day
get the
after
Friday, to
Thanksgiving.
have a
Oh,
4-day
I
weekend.
see.
Then, at one point in time, and I can't remember, I think I was just an employee, the commissioners did away with that. And then the employees came back and said, look,
This is
you had
why.
agreed to this. And so then they honored
Columbus
it back.
Day is a federal acknowledgement, so I can see if we're not doing that,
It's like
that
what-
makes sense where it went.
It's like President's Day last week, that was a holiday for government, but now nobody else takes that off.
Right. Right. But that's part of our benefits package, which again is why we have to look at this pay scale realistically and say, we may pay $1 or $2 less per hour to an RN
But we
that can
got-
get a job at the hospital, but they're getting benefits package 90%. They're getting 10 guaranteed holidays, 28 days off after a year tenure. You can roll over 2 weeks to your 3rd year and get 6 weeks vacation your 3rd year of work. I mean, that's unheard of.
Yeah, good benefits.
I was just thinking still that the 4 hours that they get for the 10-hour holidays is 40 hours. And if you paid them more money, because they are part-time classification and they're not getting all of the other benefits, that cost would be more than the 4 hours that you're actually giving them.
But that's where it's, the onus is on the department head to figure that out. You know, if you're a
So-
department head that's running on a tight budget,
Are we
And-
gonna have a pay scale then for part-timers?
well, entry
Or-
level, we've started at 12. And the part-time help at the landfill, we capped at 15. So I'd say it's between 12 and 15.
So what's the pay for the full-time people then,
Up there,
if that's part-time?
up there is 14 to 18, 14 to 18.50.
That's the department head.
Well, that's all we have.
But if you had a full-time staff member, what would the pay be? That's what I'm trying to say.
Should be the same, we want them all to start at 12 and then.
Yeah,
the
I
rest
don't
of
think
it
we're
goes.
paying less to the part-time. We're still starting at 12. It's not less because they're part-time.
Okay, the statement that you had when we were revising the handbook and you guys decided to, well, you didn't really decide, but you said you were gonna strike, was that we'll pay them, and I said, what was your pay, 2, 4, and you said $2 more an hour, so are you going to give the part-timers $2 more an hour, and they not accrue any leave time and holiday? Or are we now reneging on that, and we are not going back, and we're just gonna pay them whatever the regular rate of pay is for
Well, none of that was
regular
ever
full-timers?
established, and actually, we only have like 3 part-time people, and they're all making over $13 an hour right now. So even setting a $12
I
entrance.
think you have about 15 part-time employees.
Okay, so we're not gonna count Lisa, cause she's an RN making 22, whatever.
Okay. You have Jerry and Ray, Arletta and John, and then you have all of
Who's
those
Jerry?
ambulance people.
Who's Jerry?
Or,
I
sorry,
gotta start-
James. I always do that, James Miller.
James and Ray are both making above $13 an hour. I mean, that comment was based on the idea that these part-timers don't make very much money. They're making what some of our full-time people are making.
I
So,
know, but, okay, let's just get into reality. At some point in time, some of these part-time workers aren't going to be here anymore. When you're replacing them with part-timer, the comment was, we don't give benefits to them, but we'll pay them $2 more an hour. So are you setting a pay scale that's $2 more an hour? And I know that was a fictitious number that you gave, but I'm just kind
As
of
a
saying.
start.
but
as
I'm
a-
saying,
Are you going
at
to have?
$13 an hour, we are above, I mean, first of all, you're above the entry level.
Okay, let's not look into them currently. let's look into the replacements.
Right, so a replacement would come in at $12 an hour for any position, is what we're saying, on a baseline.
For part-time. She
Well,
said,
no, oh no, we even said our custodian would come in at $12 an hour.
but
Our
that's
home-
a
I think she's
full-time
asking is
person.
the difference between full-time and part-time.
right.
Because you had kinda indicated if we were doing away
I
with
think both be
benefits on any
12
future
12 for part-time,
part-time.
12 for part-time, that's what
I'm
you're saying.
following you, but I'm thinking that the discussion of incentivize, if the whole issue is holiday pay, then they should get their 8 hours of holiday pay, get their double rate, and so that they have incentive to work on holidays, if the discussion is about holidays.
It's not about holidays, it's about holidays, leave time, what kind of benefit are we giving
I
our
don't think we
employees?
should be offering
you
leave
said
time
none.
to be, right, I
And you
don't,
said none, but then in the same sentence, you said, I'd rather pay them more.
right,
So you should have a pay scale for,
wait a
for
minute,
part-time and a pay scale.
paying them double on a holiday is paying them much more than just bumping up their salary for the days that they work. So I would say if the issue is trying to get people to work on the holiday for your department, get those part-timers their double time so that they're more likely to be okay with being scheduled continuously on holidays.
so then we're gonna go back to that they get holiday pay.
Well, that,
Or-
I think, not holiday accrual, like you were saying, 4 hours paid by accruing it, working that month. No, just on the holiday that they work, they get their double time for 8 hours. I think that's where this,
And no more accrual,
no,
no
I
more-
don't see,
no
I don't
more
see
4
why we're
hours.
accruing anything for a part-time
no
person.
more accrual, so many hours per month, no, they don't get any vacation or whatever you call it, leave.
Unless that part-timer is working your max more than half of your available hours.
Well, that was part of what we discussed too.
Over 30, right?
No, the handbook says that if they work, like if there's 168 hours in the month and they work half of that then they actually get accrued leave time.
Okay. So they're still part-time, but if they go over half,
That's
then-
what you guys struck. And you said you'd rather pay them $2 more an hour. Again, I'm just using a number, but you would
Yeah.
rather pay them more money.
in the
So,
handbook- in the
so
handbook
should
we
there
did
be
that.
a part-time pay scale and a full-time pay scale for each of these people as well?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean,
We get rid of the accrual thing and give them
I
the
think the
2
holiday thing is easily taken care of. If you're going to incentivize someone to work on the holiday, what's a better incentive than double time? I'm not sure there is one.
Okay. But
Can
then,
anyone think of a
but
better
then you're gonna
incentive for
get-
a holiday than double
For the-
time?
For the part-time.
so then we're gonna give $2 more an hour and get rid of the accrual for the month?
No, because that whole discussion was based on all the benefits that they get as a part-time person, which includes holiday. We can chop that off the chopping block right now by saying we're gonna pay double time on holiday. If I wanted you to work for me on Christmas Day, how am I gonna get you
Let's
there
rephrase that. Double time up to a maximum of 8 hours.
on the holiday?
Because when you say double time, if they're working a 24-hour shift, they're gonna think they're gonna get 24 hours.
No,
So,
they,
Make
yeah,
sure you.
call it holiday pay or whatever you wanna call it to clarify, but yes, I'm just, in the, jobs that I've had, if I had to work a holiday, it was
Time and a
time and a
half.
half, yeah, I mean, so,
That's what it's been when I've worked someplace too.
right.
So we're still gonna have the,
So paying them more is giving them the double time on the holiday shift for the 8 hours to get them there and to incentivize them, instead of them just saying, oh, I got half of the amount of hours that everybody else got because I worked so many hours in the month, blah, blah, blah. I don't see how that's really the greatest incentive, especially if we're trying to get people to cover so that the regular employees don't have to be scheduled that day.
so we're still gonna have the accrual thing though. If you work more than half the hours for the month, then you'll get your vacation hours and all that. For a
I
part-timer.
personally don't see how you can give vacation to a part-time employee like that.
So you're saying get rid of the, leave or vacation, whatever we call it, time for part-time people?
I mean, who is working,
Oh, no, I'm just
who's
saying,
working between 20 and 30 hours to where they're not eligible for benefits package, but they really do put in half-time every week? Who's doing that?
It depends on
On
Well-
average,
Yeah,
Ray, James Miller,
the job.
John Novak, Arletta Morris has, it just depends on
And it varies.
their shifts over there. And then you have some ambulance people that are working one day a week.
Yeah, and I would,
And, you know, some of them aren't, some of them are, but it varies month to month sometimes, and sometimes it's regular, and it all depends on whether or not you have full-timers that are off, or they need to be off and they're trying to utilize their time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I missed one. Ray, James, Arletta,
John Novak,
John.
4 or
and
5.
then you
maybe.
have a couple of EMTs that were working 24, or one shift a week.
I don't know, I mean, what do you have for suggestions on
I'm not
that?
sure many of them accrued this month.
Well,
One or
currently
two.
we have if we're working more than half the hours for the month, then they accrue, 4 hours or so much.
For part-timers.
Six.
Part-
6 is half of 12.
They get
Because
half of
everybody else
what,
gets
they get
12.
half of what the full-time person would get. And if they work less than half the hours of the month, they get nothing,
And I
right?
think last month you had 2 that you put in, and some that we removed because they didn't accrue.
There were 2 or 3.
So it
So
kind
why
of
don't we
depends.
just change it from month to year, and why don't we just do a bonus? And say, if you're gonna work here for the year as a part-time person, and you work over half of the eligible hours for the year, so if you work 1040 or over, then you get a bonus check. I mean, what's the point of doing all this accrual month to month? As far as, I mean, it's really not, it's not an income that they're relying on unless they are always 20 hours a week. So let's just do a bonus check at the end of the year, and that's less calculating that anybody has to do. Instead of doing it every month for payroll, if you've been here as a part-time employee and you've made it calendar year January 1 to December 31st, or when we do our paycheck on the 25th, if you worked over 1040 hours for the year, here's your paycheck, X amount of dollars. What does that come out to? 6 hours times 12 is 70, so 72 hours worth is what you're getting.
But, and that would still be more than what most of them are getting now. I guess that's my point, is the little bit of benefit that they are getting, it costs more to pay more per hour, or it costs more than what that little tiny benefit is, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because
but we're
they
also paying clerical time to do that
What-
every month. I mean,
True. Probably half of them maybe accrue half the time.
So
let
you
me
got,
say it this way: if you're making $13.50 an hour, and we give you a check at the end of the year to cover 72 hours, if you worked, because that's the
You're
thing.
gonna make a lot more than what you were if you were getting accrued the vacation. I guess what I'm saying is not everybody accrues vacation every single month, it just depends on how many hours that they work.
so that varies, that's what I was
It
gonna
varies,
ask.
so some months you accrue, some months you don't.
Some-
So then isn't that less of an incentive to stay than saying, hey, if I stay the whole year, let's say you worked a lot in the summer because it was a part-time position for the highway department, but you didn't work at all in the winter. What's the difference? I mean, if you're trying to incentivize everybody by their monthly paycheck,
But not,
why don't we just do it across
but
the board?
Alexis, it may not be up to the employee, it may be up when they need him, it may be up to the bosses. Employee may wanna work more hours, but they don't need him, so they're gonna.
Right, so why not just reward them at the end of the year and say, hey, you've been here all year on
But
call
then you
for
could
part-time?
but then we could get accused of the bosses saying, well, let's make sure we keep them under 10, 20 hours so that they don't get all this
They
overtime.
can do that
money.
now, only it's calculated every month,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
I know what
We're
you're saying.
paying,
I'm just saying your cost is gonna be more if you do that than what you're paying now, but.
Leave
well,
it
but
to-
you're
You
saying
can do
part-time
that, that'll
help,
be fine.
but you're saying, what I heard you say before is, part-time help is hard to find and hard to hang on to. Why
is.
wouldn't, so for a couple $100 a piece, at the end of the year, why wouldn't we try to get them to stay the whole year? All this calculating by each, that's like encouraging living paycheck to paycheck in my mind. It's like, oh, this month you're gonna get a half an hour, and I've seen it on some of the things, they've been a half an hour over the minimum time to get 50% of the time. Forget that. Let's not squabble over trying to find them a half an hour to be eligible this month. Let's just say, hey, if we've needed you for more than 1,040 hours this year, thank you for being here. Here's your bonus check. And then you don't have to do all this monthly calculation crap.
Thing the trouble with that is though, then you may work their rears off for 4 months in the summer, and then you don't need them for the next 3 months in the winter, and they don't get there, then they'll say they just got abused that way, you know, and that's the trouble with going the yearly way.
It doesn't matter to me, that would be a nice incentive for your regular employees, and I think most of them are not working the 1,000 hours because of that health insurance requirement would be limited to them, but now it's because the state requires you to offer the health plan if it was at 20 hours a week. Well, now it's at 30 hours a week, so we
So
can
we don't have to
have them
worry
work a
about
little
that.
bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they work more than the 1,040, we have to put them on capers. but some of them are already on caper, some of them are retired capers, but, it would give them an incentive. I'm just commenting that if you did the 12-hour or the 6 hours a month, it's actually more incentive than what we're actually paying out now, but.
But, yeah,
They would
no, I
probably
see what
all
you're
appreciate
saying,
it.
but I'm not thinking that a couple $100 a head is that big of an expense for us to say, I wasn't trying to cut it to say, oh, this is gonna save us money. I'm just saying, it's one of those asinine policies that it's like, everybody has to calculate every month, am I to my halfway point, is it 172 hours this month, is it 168 hours a month? You know, it's like, am I a quarter hour, our time clock does what, down to the quarter hour? So if I have 15 minutes over my half time for the month, am I eligible for my, you know, can we not just make it a more blanketed, shoot, I don't care if it's, hey, you're a part-time person, every year you're gonna get $1,000 bonus pay, just because we want you available. I mean,
Would you prorate that?
no.
So we would penalize a guy that didn't work the full year because he would be getting his money as he comes along.
That's what he's saying. You can
That's
work
what I
all
said.
summer and not work 6 months.
That's what I was
worth.
saying, yeah. They could work you, all kinds of hours in the summer.
But that's where you have to have a little bit of faith in your department heads. I mean, if they're that unorganized and don't care about their employees that much, then we need to be looking at the department head. I mean, at some point, it does become micromanagement. I'm looking at ways to simplify our paperwork process.
Well, and I think there is a difference between part-time per need. You know, the part-time employees are your regular employees, they're committing to you, whatever it is that you're asking them to commit to. The part-time per need is, I'm part-time, but it's based upon my schedule and my availability and your schedule and your availability.
Right, so who out of these particular ones that we have currently, Ray, James, Roletta, John, and the EMTs, who could potentially not reach 1,040 for the year? Anybody?
I miss some of the part-time per need in EMTs.
Okay, but that's still part-time per
And then
need.
you still
That's
have,
not,
you still have Lisa at the health department who commits, and I know you said you pay her more, so,
yeah, I mean, she's
That's
making
kind of a
over
moot.
20-some dollars
but
an
she
hour.
works every single week, so she would be what you would consider a regular employee.
But she's not gonna
She's
hit
a
that
regular-
1040.
It's like Ray's a regular part-time, he's doing it all the time, right?
Mhm.
But that's what I'm saying, he's been here
And
how
it's
many
so-
years straight, every year he could've gotten the same amount instead of getting, I mean, there's just too much room, there's too much wiggle room when you're trying to figure it out month by month. And I see what you're saying, you can be up to 28 hours every week in the summer and
Yeah.
still not hit it because you haven't quite done your 1040 for the year.
Yeah.
But that's up to the department, the department head has to have a little bit of savvy.
But they may not be
Well-
watching it that close.
Conversations have also been had over the year that we'll hire more part-timers, you know, less benefits, more part-timers and pay them more. Well, if you want to do that, you're gonna have to offer some kind of incentive in order for them,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For somebody to say, hey, I'd like to come to work for
Yeah.
you, but I'd work 25 hours a week.
But let's just put it this way, Dawn. Maybe every month you spend 2 hours doing the calculations for the part-time people, double checking them, inputting them, whatever that means for them. That means we're paying you $50 a month at $25 an hour or whatever, I'm rounding numbers,
I
to
think-
do that.
I think it took us 15 minutes, but
What I'm just
Being on
saying.
top of it, yeah.
it is,
It depends on the month.
it is time.
So,
So we still don't know where we're at, if we're gonna pay overtime to, part-time employees for holidays and that type of thing, yeah?
Something to think about for the handbook when we're.
Yeah, let's
looking
think
at
about that
it.
for the handbook. Whether we pay double time for a part-time employee to work Christmas Day, is that what we're gonna do, or
A
part?
man, you wouldn't wanna say double time, you would wanna say.
this is what I'm saying.
What would you call it?
Yeah, we'll call
A
it
max
holiday pay.
to
We'll
8
call it
hours.
holiday pay.
Holiday pay.
Here's the thing, let's say we have 2 part-timers in the same department. One's gonna get scheduled on Christmas, the other one's not,
Right,
okay?
yeah.
But if, right now, as it stands, if they both work half the hours for that month, even though one had to work Christmas and the other one didn't, they both get the holiday Christmas pay. That's bull. I'm sorry, I'd be mad if I got stuck on the holiday and got the same amount of reward for it as my co-partner who didn't have to do it, only because they were there all the other days.
And see, before that 4-hour holiday, they got nothing.
So I'm saying
So-
the person who works the holiday gets it.
Mm-hmm.
None of this, everybody gets holiday pay every month. If you work the holiday, you get it. Then potentially we are saving money because
For
instead
the
of 2
part-timers.
part-timers, or not saving money, but we're just transferring that. Instead of you getting the 4 hours of holiday
For
just
not
because you were
working.
there, I get the 8 hours of holiday because I worked it.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's more
Common sense.
equitable. I mean,
Common sense, what it is.
Well, they tried other things, is what she's
That's,
saying.
that's
I
a
think it
tough,
should.
well, that's a tough predicament, because you're getting into holidays, you're getting part-timers, you got into weird labor laws.
Well, and you understand where the employee is coming from, when they come and they say, I'm working every single holiday, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm never getting anything of a
Absolutely.
benefit.
Yeah, they
And
were-
why would it be fair if, let's just say, the same person gets stuck on every holiday shift because they're available, the other part-timer in that department is getting the same benefits as they are. How is that fair? That's totally not fair. Just because you were there, well, everyone was there then, for the month, I'm saying. In vacation time, I mean, that's a whole nother discussion. I think the holiday pay can easily be figured that if you work the holiday, you get the 8 hours of holiday pay, which doubles it's basically making double time for 8 hours. But then we won't offer it for the rest of the 12 hours and the rest of the 24 hours because we can't afford that expense. What do you think about that? Can we put that in the handbook?
I think so,
What's your opinion on that's holiday, what's your opinion on the vacation accrual for part-time?
I'd rather pay him extra and not accrue vacation, personally.
Pay them extra per hour or pay them a
Yeah, per
bonus
hour,
check for
per
vac?
hour.
That'd be pretty simple, doing it that way.
Okay, so right now, our part-time people vary at about $13, $14, $15 an hour. So are we gonna bump them up to 16, 17, 18? Or, I mean, how, what do you,
I don't know if I'd bump him that much,
So then what happens if one of those part-time people want to become a full-time person? Do they get to pull that,
no, that's why she's saying there would be 2 pay scales. You fit here if you're part-time, you fit here if you're full-time.
that's what I was asking, is if,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's.
And that was just something I threw out in conversation. I think the holiday pay discussion today is a much better idea. But that doesn't address
you don't have
the
to decide,
vacation.
it can be something you think
Well,
about.
it's something we
Just-
need to think about for the handbook and
Well, I think we're kind of in agreement on the holiday thing, right?
Yeah.
But the vacation can be
Yeah,
discussed.
What do other counties do?
Yeah, we're gonna call Decatur.
yeah. Decatur, do you know those Decatur people? Call Phillips.
no, I haven't been up there.
We should
Okay,
contact,
so-
I know
Did you write down the
Well,
recycling
Phillipsburg,
wages, 12 and
Over is
15?
the county seat.
I know the Phillipsburg commissioner guy
Okay.
too, I can
Yeah.
call
The
him.
only thing we haven't
That's
talked
kind
about
of
is
our area.
transportation.
You could, except
The bus.
Phillipsburg's got a bunch more stuff.
Okay, guys, the bus driver wages, we didn't finish. What's the entry level, maybe, what?
What did we have? We had him, getting paid $14.05 now.
Uh-huh,
I think his entry level be like everybody else, $12.
12,
Yeah,
so
I'd run up to 16 or whatever.
yeah.
12 to 16
That's what
instead
I'd
of 12 to
say.
15, okay.
There's no,
Now, how-
we got some skills.
Now, how does that
some
work
skills.
with, we say we pay our current guy, I don't know what, say 15. Do we pay his whole salary for the whole year and then we get reimbursed back from the state later? How does that
No,
work?
we apply for the grant,
Mhm.
and they have a different fiscal year than we do.
Okay.
But he applies for the grant, we promise to allocate X amount when we do our budgeting.
Mhm.
Then do we get all that from the state at once?
No, he has to submit reimbursements each month.
Okay,
Each
so it's
month.
monthly reimbursements from the state fund for that.
And that comes to our general account?
And we
General
twice
fund
a
to
year,
us?
we transfer.
It comes to the Fund 75,
Which is, his bus
is the
fund?
transportation
It's
bus.
his
fund.
account, his fund.
Yeah. So
He's
every,
on top of that, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have to submit the gal in Wilson, I think it's the city clerk, is the person, I believe, or Canopolis, anyway, somewhere over yonder. She's like their bookkeeper type thing, so he submits the stuff through,
I think it's the Ellsworth County Council on Aging does that. Isn't that who does the logistics for their public transportation?
well, they might do that, but I'm almost sure it's the Wilson city clerk
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
that does it. But anyway, so she has, all of the reports come in and then they disperse based upon a percentage, I'm sure. But,
So you are responsible for not only driving the bus, but doing the paperwork, which is not a lot of hours, but it's still a responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that justifies being able to go
And it,
above the
and
regular
now Anne
pay,
Marie was saying they pay
cap
like
15.
80% of the budget, but is that about correct, Don, do you know?
Well, no, she said it's 70,000 and we pay 20.
So that whatever percent that is, it's about,
Yeah.
we pay about 25% then, so. I mean, more than
There's
that, about 35.
There are
Yeah.
some expenses that's not reimbursable.
Okay,
So like, if they wanted to do, I shouldn't even say that, but there are expenses that are not reimbursable, there are expenses that are, so.
okay, sure. Anyway, they pay about 70,000, we pay about 30, so. that's
70
about
is the total,
70 total, and out of that 30, we pay approximately, right?
20.
Oh, 20 out of the 70. so
20 out of 69, whatever it was.
We pay less, we pay about 18% or so, something like that.
Yeah, I did not realize that it was that much of a reimbursement by the state for the program. Or that I should say that our portion, our share was as well.
Where are we? Are we
I think she said we covered everybody that our department heads.
The only thing that I don't have wrote down is the emergency manager, but that
So
position's
we're at 16.
for who?
emergency
We need to
manager.
figure out
we-
what we're gonna do with
Yeah,
that first.
That's kind of a.
We
Well,
need
no,
to-
but we can still talk about what it's worth per hour if as a one individual.
Yeah.
Full-time?
We're currently at 16 at full
Full-timer.
time, yeah. But we reduced it to half, so what are we looking at?
Why
as-
did you reduce it to half?
Because we cut the budget, remember? Not half per hour.
Oh, emergency
We cut
manager.
the hours.
Oh, emergency manager,
Yeah, we
yeah.
cut the whole budget
You're
to
right,
half.
you're right, I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah,
Um,
you're right. That's right, I was thinking something else.
That's all right, I'm just saying, if you have 2 years, according to the statute, to get all of your education. So you can come in with nothing.
Well, we need
You
to
can come into
decide.
that position with nothing.
Well, that's what you need to decide. We discussed this before. Jim, one time you were saying maybe we need almost a full-time person, because there's a lot going on in protocols. You were saying, like, if we just get a licensed individual and can take training, we can maybe get by doing that. And that maybe is okay too, but we gotta decide here, and then also.
Well, when we talk with Mr. Hauber, we can get ideas.
Yeah, that's right, we talked about that, but also Mr. Holman, you know, was interested, and also, a few other people, and also Mr. Lauren Peterson said he may still now be interested, but he would probably need more money than whatever we were offering, you know, what he gets for EMS, and also here, and I know we got away from that job description,
Well, we stopped
we
the
pulled that.
advertisement for
but he
that,
said he still may be interested, and I think he's now in San Antonio working this, coronavirus stuff, so he knows, he's on top of that type of stuff, but I don't know if we could pay him enough to do both, so I don't know where we're at.
I think you can start that position at 12 because that would be coming in with nothing. But you're mandated within the first 2 years to be credentialed, which would obviously jump you up then $1 or 2.
You don't think we should get somebody with experience that kinda knows what's going on in that area?
No, I'm not saying what to do, I'm saying on a pay scale. If you were gonna replace someone, you are technically able to put someone in there who just got out of high school. They don't have to have.
Really? You
I
think
don't-
so?
I don't think you.
I don't agree with that either,
You
Michael.
have 2 years to finish the first level.
Agreed on that.
Okay, let's
but
not forget that the person that we had in there did not have any outside credentialing whatsoever. It's all done in-house. You're not asking someone to have a degree to come in to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you need some skills that a high school student wouldn't have.
Well, should you have to pass an EMT test?
No,
I would see it a little higher than the 12, cause that's kinda where you're starting wages for your custodian. Looking at custodian
Probably
job
need
duties
to-
versus,
you need to get an outside opinion when Mr. Haber comes in here.
Yeah, we need to
that could be a
decide.
position that's.
I know, but I
discussed.
just wanna let everyone know that we're paying EMTs like 13, 15 an hour, and you just said you wouldn't have to be able to pass an EMT test to be able to do it,
To do
so,
emergency management?
Yeah.
You will. That has nothing to do with emergency management.
I'm trying to say what kind of credentialing do you need? If you were a person who was unable to pass an EMT course, but you could still get credentialed to be the emergency management, I think that tells you a lot about the education level that you have to have. And we're paying $13.50 for someone who has to be able
But-
to do that.
There's a difference between being able to change the spark plugs in a car and going out and moving dirt with a shovel somewhere. You can't even compare the education required between the two of them.
It doesn't take education to use a shovel, it takes someone showing you how. It's more of an apprenticeship type thing, so is changing spark plugs. I mean, if
Why-
you can't pass a written test for an EMT exam, but you can pass the written test for the emergency manager exam. Which exam's harder? Like, let's think of it that way. Is it harder to get your RN or harder to get your LPN?
The thing is, though, with emergency manager, you gotta get your what you said, certifications or whatever, but then you gotta do ongoing more training, right, for all these protocols and stuff, right? If you're really gonna be proficient at being an emergency manager, you should, right? Isn't that the idea
I
here?
get that, but I'm saying you can start and you have 2 years to even get your first level of credentials.
And I kinda side with you, Alexis, cause I wanna spend less money on this as I have to, but I wanna make sure we got somebody qualified and competent in there too, you know? That's where I'm at.
I mean, it's open for discussion. I'm
Well,
just saying,
I know.
you can't say on one hand it's harder to get your EMT degree than it is your emergency manager, because it is harder. It's
I'm
still
not
a
saying
written,
that.
it's a written exam.
It's harder
It's-
to be a doctor of physics than it is to be a doctor of medicine, but
Then
they're
why-
not comparable degrees.
They're not paid the same either.
It doesn't make
They're
any
not paid the
difference.
same. That's my point. They're not paid the
It doesn't
same.
matter
The
what the
value
pay is,
is
we're
different.
talking about the skills required to do the job.
No, we're talking about the pay.
I understand that.
But if you're gonna pay someone who's out on our ambulances saving lives $13.50 an hour, and then say you can walk in, make $14.50 an hour, and you don't even have to be able to pass the same kind of written exams as someone
I'm
who's
not
out.
arguing about that, but the qualifications are different. You can decide what pay you want. It has nothing to do with whether you can save a life in an ambulance. You can pay them whatever you want. But you can't take a high school graduate and put him in an EMT job or in emergency management and expect him to be successful.
I beg to differ on that, but that's, I mean,
I've got a suggestion for you. We have the Lincoln County Emergency Management Plan is due at the state on the 1st of August this year. I would like to see you prepare it and put it in there at the state of August, at the 1st of August.
you are the emergency manager at this point.
I'm asking you, if you think a high school person could do it, why don't you go in there and take a look and see what's involved in doing that?
I have no doubt that my capabilities would be proficient for that. I have a master's level education, okay? What I'm saying is, I don't really have an interest in that, and that's been more than obvious at this table. My point is, if you can take 2 years to become accredited, that the state recognizes it.
That's a completely different accreditation you're talking about.
No, it's not.
No, that's not preparing a plan. That accreditation is all of the things. you have to
We've
do.
never prepared the plan. I'm
Yes, you
sorry.
have.
No, we have not. We have paid to have it
No.
prepared every time. This is where I'm just drawing the line with this discussion. We paid $10,000 to have it prepared because we didn't have someone hired that was
When
capable.
did you prepare?
I don't
when
want to
did
spend
you-
my time doing that. I have raised little
when did
babies.
you
I would
prepare
be
the
glad to
last plan
prepare.
in this county?
5 years ago, it's due
No.
again, and we paid for
It
it.
was paid for in 2012, the last time we put a full
13,
plan
14,
in.
15, 16, 17, 8, it has to be done every 5 years, so it's been since then. And
Yeah.
we've paid over $10,000 to have it done. So, the person who was here was not doing that.
And that means that it wasn't a high school graduate that prepared that plan.
No, it means we paid for someone to do it.
And you have to have a bunch of skills to do that plan, so you have to be careful when you hire somebody to do that, or you expect them to be the emergency management. There's a set of skills that you gotta have, and they're not readily available.
This is
So
very
you're
frustrating to
suggesting,
me.
so you're suggesting that we could actually outsource the writing of the plan for about 10 grand?
Correct. That is correct.
We can outsource the writing of that plan, so the person who sits in that seat does not have to be the person who writes that plan.
I only make about 13,000 to be here for the year. I will volunteer for 10 grand to step down and write that plan. I will do it.
Okay,
Give
now
me
you
the
got
time and the
plan.
money.
Now what do you do with the plan? Put it on a shelf?
No, you create little scenarios and invite people to volunteer to be part of the, oh, we have this big rollover on I-70, how do we deal with it? And you create these mock-ups.
And when the tornado
and-
comes through Lincoln, and one of the requirements of an emergency operation plan on that tornado is to identify and account for all the people that live in the tornado's path. Do you do that after the fact? Should you do that before the fact? What kind of plan do you have to do that?
Actually, what you're judged upon, if there is a lawsuit, is did you or did you not follow the plan?
I'm not talking about a lawsuit, I'm talking about real life casualties laying out here in the dirt.
That emergency manager never touches a life.
Yeah, Not
No,
a
but they
single-
Never
have
touches
to have
it
the
like-
plan for somebody to go into every house and know who's supposed to be in that house and know where those people are, whether they're still in the house, they're out in the shelter and all
Okay,
that
so
stuff.
No,
we have-
that's
we
the
have-
fire
Plan-
department, that's
no.
the sheriff's department,
Mhm.
yeah, it is.
Okay.
Well, we had someone over there, what was his plan? What was his plan for
Plans
that?
are in there, you can go look at those
So
plans.
if that plan already exists, why do we need to recreate the wheel?
You probably have to update them and modify them probably, or at least evaluate changing them or something.
Dawn, are you able to pull up the cost that we paid for that, when we paid to have that plan? Because if you listen to LaDonna, this time around, we can actually get it done for free, which
That's
is
good.
awesome.
I like free.
They're doing a regional update, because everybody's plan already exists. That was part of the mandate from the feds to the state, that we have a plan, and then you have all these sub-plans to the plan, all the appendixes, there are like 15, she said. But the actual regional update, they're doing, and they're sponsoring, and we can have it done for free. I think she said we paid $10,000 last time. That's why I'm very irritated. If the person was doing the plan that was here, they could have done that for all these other counties and made gobs of money. That's not what we were doing. We were paying a full-time position to have a plan be outsourced and updated. That's my argument to this whole situation. It has never been a proactive 40-hour-a-week job. I mean, if we had someone who was capable of making a plan and creating a plan and updating all the plans, we could have been outsourcing ourselves to other counties and subsidizing, and we wouldn't even have to pay a dime for an emergency manager.
True.
I'll do it.
Well, I guess we'll discuss this later too. Do we have any other business right now? Jim, Alexis?
No, I do have one other thing. Alexis,
Yes.
your memory.
Yes.
We discussed with the appraiser the other day about
The database?
creating a database up there.
Yes.
And as I recall, we did that in executive session, did we
Yes.
not?
Yes, we did.
Then I would like to know why that is published out in open source literature right now.
Well, first of all, that has already been talked about at this table in open session multiple times. In fact, the idea came from the person that you're saying published it. If you think that creating a database with tax dollars is executive session material, you're mistaken.
I'm just saying that's what happened. I don't know whether it's right or wrong.
Well, it's been talked about in open session. The idea was brought to us by the person that you're saying has published it, and I confirmed that that's something that we're working on. It is.
So then, are we in violation of the executive session by discussing something in there that we shouldn't have?
No, because it has nothing to do with the performance appraisal that we actually conducted. That was a secondary discussion that we had about what the plan is and what it costs, which is all open record. I mean,
But we were doing it in executive session.
well, I'd be glad to ask the Attorney General. I mean, I have
I'm
no
just-
problem
No,
tattling
I'm
on
just
myself.
curious. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just way over
I
my.
mean, when I tell someone, yes, we actually are gonna implement the
She
the
was
data.
asked the question, have you requested it? And she said yes.
Yes, I said yes, we did request that that be implemented. The concept itself, the price, the idea, none of that is protected information.
Then we should have been doing it in executive session.
That's probably true. That discussion could have come out in the open session after we completed the actual evaluation. Yes. But no, nothing was shared about any personal information. That's what's protected.
Yeah, so we violated the Open Meetings Act, what we did.
Kind of, yeah.
And we owe the state $50.
No, we owe ourselves a Komokora education class, which I got on the website to do. They actually want us to already have a date and time picked where we invite them to come. So
To be here, physically in the meeting here?
Yes.
How long would that last?
I don't know. They were
When-
kind of reluctant to answer questions on the phone. They said, "Oh, you can schedule it all through our website." Well, then when I got on the website, it was like, "What time should we be there? Where should we be? Blah blah blah." I said, have you looked at that at all? Where you schedule a Komokora request? It wants me to tell them when. So I'm kind of at a loss if we don't have an actual meeting set up amongst ourselves.
It's probably more so they'd like to have you set a date that would be available and then they would check their schedules maybe to see if they have somebody available,
Okay.
or try to rearrange their schedules so that they could have somebody available. The one I went to in Topeka was like a PowerPoint presentation, and
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
and I think it was like a 3 hour, and then I think some of them had to stay for longer because they had been naughty.
Mhm. Like the reprimand type.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So will they come here to do that, or we need to go to the?
They will come. That's what I'm saying though. They're asking me if they come, when and where to come to.
Well, they come in here, couldn't
I think it's
Would it
gonna be a
just be-
bigger.
Would it just be,
They would open it, more than likely, they would open it up for others to come.
So
is
we
it
go
open to the
feast,
general public or employees or
That's what I
what?
think.
Or
we
the
should.
art center, one of the two.
Open
Does
to
the art
any?
center rent the room?
Well,
be
not
nice.
necessarily, we don't,
No.
no.
Well, if it's a PowerPoint presentation, it makes better use of the Finch Theater with the, with these.
Thing is, would it be open to public, general public? Oh, okay, I didn't know if it was just for us or who. Okay, that's fine.
Well, I think
They would
namely,
put it on their website and allow others to come to it.
and I think really the commission should suggest to the hospital board, being that a lot of them are new, that they acquaint themselves with the Komakora, because if it had not been for so many adamant violations of the Komakora, I don't think we would have picked up on some of the dysfunction that was going on there. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a very good tool for the public to hold boards accountable by Coma and Cora to kind of follow what's going on. If you see that a change has happened, and you asked them that too, when we had the joint meeting in the courtroom, you said, where is it in your minutes, the recording of this action? And they hadn't had it because it really was done outside of compliance with the Coma and Cora. So,
What other boards would we have? City, would they come?
we should certainly invite them. Every
School
city
board.
should be affiliated with that, or
Does that affect everybody, not just county?
it's any governmental tax funded.
City council too?
City councils, school
Every
boards.
open meeting.
Okay.
And
The
it'd be
hospital.
more than just Lincoln, you'd have all the other,
You'd have Beverly, Barnard. Well, does Barnard have a city council?
yeah, well, they have a mayor, and I presume they have a council.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have at least a representative, if not the.
Yeah, both
Chairperson.
school boards and all that, yeah.
That would be great. So
All right.
I'll contact them
Yeah,
again and
okay.
just.
Anything else? Jim,
I
Alexis?
have nothing further.
Don, you have any input for us? Sarah, you have anything to give us? Thanks.
I would just like to say I think we need to get our new dollar amounts figured out. I mean, we just had a payroll, but if we don't start working on it, the next one's gonna go by.
For the department heads, right?
Well, we have to approve all the new pay rates. So we have I forwarded what we got as suggestions from the department heads, I forwarded to her for the new dollar amounts
Okay.
per employee.
All right.
At our last meeting, we hadn't received all the evaluations, have we received those, Dawn?
No.
We still need some evaluations before we can do the payroll.
We're missing the entire emergency, or services, EMS, we're missing that entire department. And then we did get the sheriff's department evaluations, but I only kept some because not all of them were signed. So I'll give those to you. I think I already forwarded you everything that I have as far as numbers.
And honestly, we probably should aim for completion of a pay resolution by March 16th. Because the 23rd, we're getting too close to actually doing payroll,
Okay.
that there's just not enough time.
May I ask you to give us back a copy of just the department heads, so that when we finish this pay scale thing, we can maybe refer to it, and I'll give you these. So, well, maybe, do you have any of those?
Received a copy
We'll
of
just keep
the
these, I don't think those are for, you don't, they can't go in employee files anyway,
report
because they
of
don't
the
have names on them.
inspection for the nursing home. When they come through last time, it said the fire doors weren't.
I
This is the
haven't
first
got a copy. Maybe
Thank you.
Jonathan does it, but you need a fire marshal or.
I scare everybody?
Whoever
Sorry.
Inspected the nursing
Oh,
home,
you know
I
what?
think they're
Let me
seeing
go
all
ahead and
the-
do this
Well, I
too.
think that Jonathan had well, they were stuck there, wrote up that door,
No.
you know.
Yeah,
Did you guys
This is
approve
what's
that
gonna be
door? maybe?
interesting.
yeah,
Oh,
This
well,
is
Jonathan was
last
in here,
year's.
right? Okay.
So-
We could ask him for a report.
but I'd just like to see
Yeah.
what all we're,
I'll try to get a hold of him, Jim, and, see if he has
That's
a
no
report from the
longer
fire marshal
Possible.
on this stuff. All I've heard is, you know, what the
I was
door,
kinda surprised at that door.
that's $7,000.
Well, no, that it hadn't been seen before.
And then a marshal, I guess,
But,
probably just down in the basement,
well, I
hidden down in
yeah,
there.
John said it'd been written up before, but nobody paid any
Wait, this
attention.
isn't what I thought it was.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that's kinda
These are,
odd.
I need to shred some
What do
of
you mean
these.
written up? The fire marshal written it up
Yeah.
before, but they didn't fix it?
Nobody said anything about it.
Well, we better fix it, cause he can shut the
You
place
know
down.
what? You must
Well,
already
that's
have them. Do you
also
have
an
all the
excuse for
2018
John Grace not
declarations?
to pay his damn bill.
John Grace contacted me too, just to tell me.
Yeah, no, these are just the applications,
He
so
was
you
just
don't need
wanting to
these.
know
Yeah, you,
where we're at with
If you go-
Jennifer with
now are you gonna
this,
put those, like,
sale.
each evaluation in
So
their
that's
blue
what
folder?
we got the
So then they
paperwork
should have
out
last
for
year's
her,
one
then to
too.
make a bid to buy the place. And I said,
I thought that would be interesting
I
at
didn't
some
know I
point
was on the
for
road.
supervisors to,
Jennifer,
like,
you
do
guys,
the year-to-year
you heard.
comparison.
Then they should have
Jennifer's
known
coming
that.
up with some paperwork.
But we've had so
I've
much
had
turnover,
another
like,
person's expressed
that part,
interest in
highway
purchasing
department's not the
that.
same, EMS is not the same.
I'll
He'd
bring
like
that
to
up
know
as
what
well.
all
The forms are
deficiencies
different.
are.
I don't know, I mean,
So, it looks like we may have at least three.
Okay, we need to go, I need to give Jennifer on that, or we do, or, Alexis, John Grace called too the other day to me, just wanted to know, where we're at with the sale of the nursing home, you know, the paperwork that we were gonna, the bid process on that, and, I said I hadn't heard anything,
Oh.
I hadn't talked to Jennifer O'Hare yet, and so I didn't know,
okay.
okay? And he's like inquiring,
Is
and
she on the agenda at all? Cause we were gonna,
get with Jennifer.
well, she had 60 days to make it, and then we were gonna put it out for 30 days, so. The end of February, today is, I think, about the 60 days.
Yeah, okay. Well,
She's
I-
been working on it, I don't know where she is
She-
in the process.
Right.
She skipped that and went to the RMA for a while.
Well, she
Well,
had a
she
helper.
had no suggestions on the RMA, so
But-
hopefully that didn't
Yeah,
take her
but-
too long.
I think she had another attorney helping her out do some other work now too, so hopefully, I'll try to get with her and find out about that. Are we done?
I don't have anything
All right,
else.
well, adjourn then.
We're waiting on the chairman to adjourn it so we can go somewhere.
Well, I'm seeing if you guys still had any input. We're adjourned now.